Good evening, Bigfoot Cryptid fans. We got a nice show lined up for you. And guess what? I'm putting a spotlight on the other two guys tonight, along with our guest. I'm going to be in and out. I got some shoulder stuff going on. I'm wrapped up. I got to go take care of this and that. Anyway, we got a great, what do you call him? A guest? A great guest on tonight. Daniel Hamilton from the Cryptid Podcast, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. Hopefully, I'm sure these guys will, as soon as Jeff's done drinking, we'll do a good job. Like I said, I'll be back and forth. So, but Jeffrey, how's things going?
Oh, just the regular adventures at the farm.
Yep. Keeps you honest.
Bull crap.
Absolutely. David Blaylock. Act a squirt. You okay?
What's up, everybody?
Can you talk?
I'm good.
You don't have stage fright, do you?
Good.
You got me worried now. I'm just kidding. Beard's starting to fill in there pretty good.
It's good to be here, guys.
No Roger, no Gary stories tonight.
No. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You would remember that was how that individual.
Oh, yeah. We kind of put that to rest when we signed off last Tuesday. So we're moving on.
You mean last Thursday when we had that?
Well, yeah, we did have a show that was supposed to be, about Bigfoot, but ended up being about that stupid Tuesday night crap. But that's over with now. So, but anyway,
that dude needs a beat down. Needs a good old beating. Take him out in the woods.
Yeah.
But whack him with a stick.
Yeah.
That's it. Anyway, I guess I'll go ahead and get it kicked off for y'all. Daniel, we spoke backstage about how you got involved, but we're going to go ahead and tell everybody now. Sure. Give us a little rundown about Daniel and what got him where he is today, and all the good stuff that happened to you on your sighting, and anything, just tell us about Daniel. How's that?
Okay, so
where'd he go?
I don't know. He muted himself and then he bounced.
Yeah, get used to
it. So here, I gotta check on something.
What got me started in this whole thing? So, I'm looking in the chat right now. A lot of people, I recognize their names, and so hey everybody, how you doing? I'm glad to be on this show. I love these guys. I may not always talk in your guys' chat, but I pop in and check things out for a little bit, and it's an honor to be on you guys' show.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Sorry guys, I'm still trying to get over it. I just like I said, I told you earlier, we had I had a sighting when I was 12. Involved my dad. My dad was with me. My little brother was asleep in the back of the car, and we saw, my dad and I saw a female Sasquatch. When I was young, I don't remember exactly how old, but I remember it was before the sighting that I had seen the Patterson-Gimlin film. I had seen In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. I was always that weird kid. Instead of going and checking out books during library time at school, looking at the shark books or spiders or snakes. By the way, I hate spiders with a passion. Flat Rock and Grand Washington. I'd always check out the only book they had on like mysterious creatures or something like that. And, it had Nessie in there, Loch Ness Monster. It had the Yeti. What else did it have in there? It had a few other things in there, but the one that really I always went to was Bigfoot. And, I'd always thought, hey, they're in Northern California for sure, but maybe they're in Oregon. Maybe on an outside chance they might be up here in Washington State. That's where I was at the time. And 1984 is when it was confirmed. They're here, and they're not only just here, they're in the area that I live. Made a checklist after I went on Wes Germer's Sasquatch Chronicles. He was the first person I went public with, and told my story. And as I've told this story, quite a few times, it's like I'm reliving it. Things come back, and more detail comes back into play. It's therapeutic in a way. Sometimes I get emotional when I talk about it, because I lost my little brother. I lost my dad in 2014, the Friday after Father's Day. And this June is exactly how the days lined up when my dad passed away in 2014. My dad passed away on the 20th of June, and the 20th of June is the Friday after Father's Day this year. And then in 2016, my little brother passed away on the 15th of June. So two people who I experienced these things with are no longer with me. And if they were here, there's no doubt in my mind, there'd be another box here and another box here. And it'd be my dad and my little brother, and they would literally tell you verbatim. My dad would, what we saw. My little brother would tell you about the encounters he had with 2 juvenile Sasquatch, how many times he had seen the female Sasquatch. And then when I went public with it, it's like a huge weight came off of my chest. I try to tell people, close friends, other family members, and I just got a big laugh. No, you're crazy. There's no way. There's no way you saw that, and you saw it this many times. And what I saw her clearly one and only one time, and that was, it seemed like it was 15, 20 minutes, but it was literally seconds, under 10 seconds. And just from there, just like you and I, Jeff, we talked, when the internet came about, I started watching these videos and finding websites that had written encounters. And then when Finding Bigfoot came out, the BFRO, I went to there, started, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, holy smokes, this is things that I've experienced. Created a whole checklist and went down, and I came to realize that before my sighting, I had other experiences. I'd had experiences or encounters, whatever you want to call them, as far back as I can remember, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, not only in Washington State, but also in West Virginia. I told you guys, I remember, hearing these owls that sounded like they had bronchitis. We'd summer nights in West Virginia, it gets pretty warm. Back in the day, you didn't have AC, so you just had your window open up, and you'd hear these hoots, and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like an owl I've ever heard. You hear these loud cracks in the woods, deep in the woods, and then you hear these hoops and these hollers. And my great grandma did a great job of saying, all those, first she used to call them hillbillies, moonshiners up there. Then she'd call them boogers, and then I'm like, well, what the heck's a burger? But I didn't really put anything into it until then I started hearing all of these hoops and things like that. And, so, I've had stuff going on in West Virginia, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Washington State. So, that's kind of, then I just I got on Mysteries Unknown, and me and Josh became really close friends. He was more of a brother to me than a friend, and bro, you need to do a podcast. And I'm like, nah, no one wants to hear me talk. No one wants to see this ugly mug. But the overwhelming support, and a lot of the people in your chat right now are people who are also subscribers of my channel, and I consider a lot of them friends. And and I like to see.
There's Harley Owens.
That is he in here? Yep,
Yeah, he's in there.
That's my dude, man. That he's like my youngest brother, man. I love him to death. He goes out and puts that work out. Sometimes he gets a little crazy, but got to reel him in a little bit. But he's young, man, and he's thirsty. and he's hungry, and he goes out, and I'll tell you right now, man, I would love to have him. If I ever go out, that's one dude I want to go out with me, like legit.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah. So then I just started the podcast, and I'm at almost what am I? At almost 2,700 subscribers, I think, something like that. 28. So I don't know.
Yeah, we're hovering around 500 still.
Yeah. Well, we need to get you out there.
It's slowly.
Yeah, I wish I could say it went slowly for me, and I'm not bragging, you guys. I don't understand why it kicked off the way it
I think
kicked
it's
off.
the algorithm.
It could be.
I don't know.
I'm still trying to understand that myself, man. I don't get it. I'm just a dumb old country boy, man. I don't understand a lot of this stuff sometimes. I'm come from the ground, from the rule of, if I can't figure it out, I just want to hit it with a hammer until it does work or it does fit,
Yeah.
But, I can't think like that on a lot of stuff, but yeah. So, that's kind of how I got the podcast going. It's been going since, first episode was November of 24. And, I got some really good episodes coming up. I was doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday release, and I started getting burned out.
That just sounds crazy.
I mean, I don't get me wrong, guys. I love doing this. It was taking away time from other things that I should not be taking time away from, and so I'm happy with just doing a Wednesday release.
Yeah.
And I didn't do a Saturday live. It was my wife's birthday, but I try to do a live every Saturday. And then I do once a month. I do a Saturday release for members only. They get an early access to that, but then everybody else can go and watch it on Saturday. But yeah, I enjoy doing this, and every time I hear a new story, it just reaffirms what I had gone through, because not every story is the same, but there is little pieces that you hear something and you're like, man, I remember when that happened to me, or I'm so glad that didn't happen to me, so, but yeah, so that's pretty much that.
You're exactly right about that. I've heard so much stuff over the years that I chalked up to I don't know what that is. Now I'm thinking back to things that happened, and I'm like, huh. Well, that definitely explains a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, the more you hear, the more it opens up all these different stuff that you don't know. And it's just like a never ending rabbit hole. It's really strange.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because, my channel is the Cryptid Podcast. So I do everything cryptid, it doesn't matter if it's Bigfoot or Dogman, I had someone email me stories about the Kushtaka, and I'm still waiting for someone to pop on and say, hey, I had an encounter with the Kushtaka, or I had my uncle or my grandfather did.
What's that?
That's the otter man that up in Alaska.
Wow.
The Haidas and the Clinkets, it's my dad encountered one when he was like 15 years old. My dad also encountered what he believes to be a werewolf. I want to say it was either right before he deployed to Vietnam or right before he went into basic training. He was out getting one last hunt in, and he was hunting muleys, and he believes he saw a werewolf, But I also work. I want to bring on like UFOs and alien encounters, because if you think about it, I never really knew that there was some type of, even if it's so far outside the box, that there is some type of correlation between UFOs and Bigfoot. You have that woo factor on it. To me, they're flesh and blood. They're flesh and blood, but I've heard so many encounters that they come in and out of portals. I think my first episode in June, I have a gentleman on who did some remote viewing. He's from Canada, and he did a remote viewing to an area like hundreds of miles away, and he said it was really, really cool on how he described it. But he said he was in an area, and he was standing in like this clearing in the woods of this area that he was looking at on a map, and he saw this portal open up like a door. And he said, standing in this doorway was a Sasquatch. And it came out of the portal and it walked right by him. And he said it just gave him this look like, how dare you? Like, how dare you be here right now? And then he said there was like a young, like between, if you describe the age as a kid, it would be like between 13 and 16. And it was like looking at him like this and getting all up in his face, kind of like you see the kids do to gorillas, at the zoo. And then the mom just yoked that kid up, like, get away from him, And then 3 other males came out of this portal. And the last one was just a massive, he's almost 10 feet tall, he said. And it just looked at him like, if I knew I could put my hands on you right now, I'd end your life. Because he was like in their realm, I guess you can say. So that kind of leads me to believe that there is more to these creatures. I'm not one to say that, do I 100% believe the woo factor? No, I don't. Josh always says, Josh from Mysteries Unknown always says that, they're flesh and blood when they're flesh and blood, and then other times they are what they are. Now I don't believe that they're Nephilim. I don't believe they're offspring from the Nephilim. I just don't believe that. There's no proof to me. There's no proof to me. Now I've heard people say, oh no, they're also descendants of Cain because of the marking. The marking of Cain in the Bible was darkening of the skin. That's what it was. It wasn't covered in hair, and now you're going along. That to me, that's not what I learned. But you can look at them and you hear so many different things. They're flesh and blood. They have the ability to cloak. I believe it has something to do with their hair, that they have the ability. I'm friends with Doug Hychek, and he's done a lot of investigation and stuff onto this stuff. And it's like hair follicles similar to that of like the flying squirrels. I don't know if you guys knew this, but if you can Google this, like a UV light, like put flying squirrel under UV light, it glows like a pink.
Yeah.
And it's their hair follicles. It's how their hair follicles absorb light, and it's able to bend that light. So that's a good possibility. That's, that's what it is. They have that ability. But you also have to understand they have the ability to just blend in. You won't know one's there until it gets up and walks away.
Mm-hmm. I've got one I'll have to, I promised the guy that sent it to me that I'd never show it publicly.
Yeah.
But I'll have to send you the one. I got a real good pick of cloaking.
Yeah. I've Josh and I, just like you guys and everybody that's in the chat's ever watched my show, they know that, the Cryptid Podcast and Mysteries Unknown are 2 podcasts that we truly care about our guests, because we understand that, some of these encounters that these guests go through are just absolutely terrifying to them, to the point where their life has been altered in a way that they never intended it to go. And, I've got 2 videos. I can talk about them, but I can never show them. I can never share them. I made a solemn promise to the people that sent them to me. I have pictures that I can never show anybody. I have 2 stories that, you guys, are so amazing. All they wanted to do was talk. They don't want it on the show. They don't want to come on the show. They just needed to get it off their chest, because and they will not tell me who they are in my chat. They won't. And they said, I just feel comfortable. I feel connected to you. This is what happened. This is how it happened. I don't want to tell anybody but you. I've tried to, and I've been ridiculed, and I'm just scared for, to come out, but
I've talked to a few people like that.
Yeah. You know,
And
it's
some have, I mean, just the craziest stuff I've ever heard.
oh,
And yeah.
I've had a few of those stories that, hey, I'd love to come on your show, and this is what happened, and I was skydiving, and when I came down, and Bigfoot snatched me out from a tree.
Well,
You know, I mean,
anything
and
like
again, I'm not saying it was like that, but it was so outlandish, you know. And I'm like, oh well, you know, I mean, that's a pretty interesting story. So I'll just kind of,
I mean, some of it's nuts. I get what you mean, but I've also heard some that if people actually told it,
yeah.
yeah, but they won't.
Oh, bro, I mean, it's even like one story. I mean, I get if I tell it every once in a while, I'll get a comment like, "Dude, you're so full of crap that did not happen to you." And the one that it is, it's the one where I'm not, you guys, I'm not saying that it was a Sasquatch. I've never said it was a Sasquatch. But what else has opposable thumbs that has the ability to grab a bootlace and untie it from your boot? I ever tell you guys, or you ever heard that story about when I was hunting with my dad? I was 7 years old. We were in Washington State. We were north, or let's see, I'm trying to look at. Yeah, we were like kind of like north of Aberdeen, Washington. Okay. And we went to a place called the hunting camp. Now I was like 7 years old. It was me, my dad, my uncle. And the reason we were going there was it was hunting season was coming up. My dad wanted to introduce me to hunting. Now I'd been fishing my whole life up to this time. You know, I remember going out on a boat with my dad as far back as I can remember, and me holding a little fishing pole and him fishing with me. But now hunting was a whole different thing. He wanted me to sit in a deer stand with him.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to this place, and what had happened is they had built a deer stand, and the deer stand was about 10, 15 feet up in a tree. It was a homemade deer stand. It was big enough for me and my dad to sit in. And where it faced, okay, it didn't face like the wood line because he found two game trails, and there was this big tree, and these game trails intersected about 20 to 30 feet in front of this big tree. So he put it where our backs was facing the tree line. Now, behind this tree, there was about 20 yards of just like a field, like a clearing, some shrubs and stuff. And then there was this tree line. Now, where we were facing, probably about 75 feet, then there was like an edge, like a hill that went down to a stream. And the game trail that came from the right went down to the left towards the pathway that you would walk up towards this area, and then it went up over this little hill. And the thing that came from the left, the game trail came from the left, went down along the edge of this like hill or cliff, and then it went down towards the river or the stream. And so we get there, we set up camp. You know, my dad walked me up there, showed me what it was, you know, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And he let me climb up there and kind of get, you know, my bearing to look around. And then we went down back to the camp, and it was probably a half mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile from our camp where the deer stand was. So we go back down to camp, we get up, and the next morning, and we walk. Now, we didn't get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark out, but it was light enough where you could see without having a flashlight to walk up the trail to get up into the deer stand. So we get up there, and I climb up, and there's a little rope on there. I lowered it down to my dad. He tied his knapsack up there, and I pulled it up, and I lowered it back down, and he had he had a 30-30, and he unloaded that, then tied it up there. And before I could even pull it up, maybe 2 feet, my dad was already up there, and he was pulling it up. And we sat down, and he's like kind of looking through his knapsack. He's like, "Oh, I left something back at camp." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Listen, buddy." He's like, "You're gonna be okay. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run back down to camp. I'm gonna get what I need, and I'll be right back." He goes, "There's nothing here that's gonna hurt you. You're perfectly fine. You're way up on this deer stand, so you're good. You're okay." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I'm sitting there, and this is where I learned probably one of the most beneficial skills in hunting, is I learned to, like, get comfortable, kick my feet out, and bury my chin in my chest and take a nap. And so, you know, I'm kinda looking around, well, I'm getting a little bit sleepy, so I kick my foot out, and I start nodding off. Well, just as when you get to that point of the sleep where you're just about to go,
Uh-huh.
and have you ever, like, done that and, like, your body jerks? Well, I felt
I've
like
done
that.
it several times in a deer stand. I know exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I felt, but I felt it, like, down at my foot, like, I figured, like, I kicked my foot out, right? And so, I don't know why, but I looked down and my boot was untied. And I'm like, "What the hell?" Maybe I got it caught on part of the deer stand, because again, this isn't like a metal deer stand. It's made of a couple of pallets and plywood. So maybe my lace got caught and I jerked in my sleep and I untied it. So I go and I tie my boot back up and I sit and I'm looking around and you can start hearing little things moving around and you hear
Uh,
you hear the stream. Now, if anybody has ever been camping and it's quiet and you hear a moving stream, it's so relaxing. And so I'm sitting there and here I go again. Sandman slapping me in the face. He's getting ready to knock me out. And then my leg jerks again. And I look down immediately and my boot is untied. And now I'm looking around and I'm like, "Dad," I'm yelling for my dad. I'm like, "Dad, stop it." Right? So I'm looking and I'm looking, getting ready. I'm like, "Nope, he's not going to get me this time." It's a little light. It's a lot lighter now. I mean, and I'm looking at my boot and I'm looking and I'm looking and I hear this tremendous like crack off to my right. I mean, it sounded like a gun went off, like right in my ear, but it wasn't in my ear. It was super, super, super close though. And I snapped my head over. And when I snapped my head over to look, my boot jerks again. And I look down and my boot is untied a third time. And I'm
good
like,
Lord.
"Dad!" I'm standing up in this deer stand and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. "Stop playing with me. This isn't funny. You're scaring me," right? And I look off and I see the top of my dad's head. He's running up the path. And he's like, "Stop screaming. Stop screaming. You're never going to see a deer. You got to be quiet." And I go, "Why are you messing with me? You untied my boot 3 times." He's like, "I did not." I go, "Yes, you did. He's like, "Daniel, Anthony, I did not untie your boot." He's like, "Son, what are you talking about?" And I told him. And he's like, "Where did you hear that noise?" And I go, "Dad, I heard it over there." And I pointed, and I'm looking. And he goes, "Stay up there. You're gonna be okay." He goes, "I promise you, I wasn't messing with you." So let me preface with saying, my dad was a Vietnam vet. My dad did 2 tours in Vietnam. My dad was the 101st Airborne. He was over there during the A Shaw Valley, Hamburger Hill. He was there.
Yeah.
So he saw some crap. And so he walks up behind, and I'm watching him, and he's doing a search. And he gets probably about 15 feet, 20 feet away from the tree. Now I'm standing up in the tree stand. I got my arms wrapped around the tree, and I'm looking like this around the back side of the tree so I can see what my dad's doing because he's behind me now. And so I'm watching him, and he squats down, and he touches the ground. He's looking, and he looks like this. And he stands up real quick, takes his 30-30 off, reaches in, racks that lever, brings that strap in and tightens it up, and now he's ready to go. And I'm like, "What is he doing?" And so he starts walking, and he starts walking in a really weird like pattern. Like he's not just walking straight up to this tree line. He's kind of moving this way and kind of moving this way, and he's got his eyes and he's scanning left to right, right to left. All of a sudden he stops. And then he starts backing up and backing up and backing up. And he's like, get out of the damn tree. And I go, what? He's like, Daniel, get out of the tree. And I go, Dad, I said, get out of the effing tree right now. So I throw down his knapsack and I climb down the tree. And he's like, run. He goes, run to camp right now. He goes, I'll be right behind you. And so I kind of look at him and he turns back around. He's figured I'm already taken off and he's still backing up. And he's probably about 8 feet from me. And he turns around. He sees me still standing there. And I told you to get your effing A back to camp right now. And he's like pissed. So I take off running. I'm running as fast as I can. And he comes running up behind me and he stops. I hear my dad stop. So I turn around and he's like, get your ass moving right now. And so I take off running and I look over my shoulder. He's like this and he's scanning back and forth like he's ready to just unload on something. Get back into camp and I see my uncle coming out of the tent. And my dad, he's seconds behind me. And my dad jumps my uncle's butt. He's like, what the F is your problem up there trying to scare Daniel up in the tree? He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, Dean, I just got back here. We're not going to see nothing. We're not going to see nothing up here. It's too damn warm. Nothing's going to be moving. It's too warm. They're going to bed down. He's not going to see nothing. He's like, oh, what's going on? He goes, I'll talk to you. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. So we pack up. He's like, we need to go. My dad's like, we got to go. We need to go. So we pack up and we leave. Now I asked my dad, no, I was under the impression that my dad may have, because up in this area, there's bear, there's cougar, and I'll tell you right now, the last thing anybody wants to mess around with is a freaking mountain lion.
Yeah.
Hell no. If I see a mountain lion, I'm out hiking, I see a mountain lion, I'm going to go the other way, backwards, making sure it does. And if it comes out on the path, I got it sitting right here. I'll take it out and I will kill me a mountain lion. I carry, I got 21 freedom seeds in 5 magazines, and I've got 17 freedom seeds and another 10 magazines. So, and I'll carry it all with me and I'll unload all of it on there. But anyway, so I asked my dad later in life, what was going on? He's like, I'm not sure. He goes, but I just know we needed to get out of there. So, that was like, to me, that's a scary encounter because I didn't really know what it was. But again, you will never hear me tell you, oh yeah, Bigfoot untied my boot. Because I don't know what untied my boot, but what else could?
Well, it wasn't a mountain lion.
Yeah, I'm 15 feet up in the air on a deer stand. What can reach up there and pull a bootlace? Do you know what I'm saying? So that's not going to happen. And then 2 years later in the same area, I've gotten a little emotional talking about this one because, I watched 3 Vietnam vets. It was me, my dad, my brother, my uncle. My uncle was one of his best friends in the world. And then 2 of his neighbors, and each one of the neighbors brought one of their sons. We go back to the same area. Day 1, no problem. Now we had to hike like an hour. It seemed like an hour to get into the camping spot. Camping spot has been used so many times, I'm sure, by my dad, my uncle, maybe even other people.
Well-used camp.
Oh, absolutely, man. It wasn't like you had to cut down stuff to make room for something. I mean, like where we set the tent up was like perfectly level and flat, where we had, tables and chairs set up, it was right there by the stream. It wasn't, it was maybe, I don't know, 25 to 40 meters away from the stream, Yeah. And we went down there the first day. Everything was set up, and it was 4 kids, 5 adults. The adults were pulling like deer sleds because we had so much gear.
I love deer sleds.
I love deer sleds during the winter.
Oh my God. Just to haul stuff around in.
Bro, have you ever gone down a snowy hill in a deer sled? It is fun. It is fun. That's redneck fun right there.
We got those ice fishing sleds. That's what I use.
Oh yeah.
The Eagle Claw jet sleds.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you right now. I've gone ice fishing one time, and I live up here in the
I don't
Great
ice
White
fish.
North,
I've never
man.
tried it.
I don't. I won't again. Ever again. I'll tell you that in a little bit. But so we go back to this hunting camp, right? And it's me and my dad and my brother, okay. And so the kids have little backpacks, with some of their clothes and stuff in it, And we set up camp. We're in this old army tent. It's a canvas tent. It could fit like 16 people in. I don't know, it's a GP medium or whatever, but it was like a big rectangle, right? And
one
so
of those ones that takes like half a day to put up.
the adults had it up in no time, but
you could probably leave it there for 12 years.
Probably it had like a flap in the middle of the roof where like a wood burning stove pipe could go out of it. So, but we didn't have one of those. So
I got one of them little 1-manner, those 2-manners that you can put a
really
stove in. Yeah.
I don't camp that much anymore, man. I don't. I camped 2 summers in a big tent, and I'm like, nope, I'm too big for this. I weighed almost over 400 pounds.
Oh.
And I'm not comfortable. Now I weigh like one. I weigh like 3, probably 320 now. I lost well over 100 pounds, but
Nice.
I need to do that again.
Me too. I need to get back down to like 250. That'd be great.
I actually just went tent camping. Well, last month I went tent camping in Gettysburg because Gettysburg's only an hour and 30 minutes from here. And in Michaud State Forest, that was on a Bigfoot outing. And terrible weather. We didn't get any Bigfooting done, but we got to go to Gettysburg. And the weekend before, I was hammock camping in Western Maryland hunting turkeys. So, I'm used to uncomfortable.
I'd say
the
so.
Hammock is not as bad as you might think, Daniel.
Oh, I love hammocks.
Hammocks are awesome to sleep in, except for when you forget to adjust your hammock.
Yeah.
And then you're laying it in the middle of the night and you end up with leg cramps because your head is lower than your feet.
Yep. That's 100% truth. So we get to this camp first night. Everything's all set up. We immediately do some fishing. We catch some trout.
Mm-hmm.
We have that. And my uncle goes, "Hey, who wants to shoot some guns?" And so so I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we're shooting like 22s, right? We're shooting 22s and it was Ruger mini Ruger 1022. Yep. Just to me, the quintessential 22. It's like one of the greatest 22s ever. So I'm sitting up there, I'm just shooting. We're just all going crazy. Way off in the distance, man, we hear this yell. Like just this huge yell, but it's so far off in the distance. I kind of look at my dad.
In Washington?
Yeah, Washington State. And I go, Dad, what was that? And he goes, it's probably a bear. I'm like, oh, okay. No problem. We go to bed, get up the next morning, goof off. We go swimming in the stream. We're fishing. We're shooting more guns. That's where I first shot a handgun. Was a Ruger Super Blackhawk 44 Magnum. I'm 9 years old, and my uncle thought it'd be a good idea to shoot this gun. Right? I couldn't even hold it up. I couldn't even.
How do you think the first thing somebody handed me was a single shot 20 when I was like, I don't know, probably about that, somewhere in that vicinity. But
yeah, I'll tell you, I've never been afraid.
My dad got cussed at for a month by my mother for one of the guys we hunted with let me do that.
I was glad to have my uncle, my dad around, my grandfather and stuff, because it was like ultra dangerous whenever I was hanging out with them. I mean, I learned how to blow stuff up, and my dad showed me how to make things that go boom. And
my dad, my grandfather probably shouldn't have been in charge of watching us at all.
No.
I rode my walker down the stairs when my grandfather was watching me one day.
Oh, I'm telling you, I've done so many stupid things. There's no reason why I should be alive, or I should either be a quadriplegic or paraplegic, because I did some stupid stuff. I'm telling you. But so that the second day, Again, it was super cool. We're just goofing off, having a good time, and then we hear another yell. But this one was a lot closer.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at my dad and I go, "Dad, that was a bear, right?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I think that was a bear." Third day,
Now, here's a question. Did this happen before? This was the same place where you were in the deer stand. Same.
yep,
Was
exact
this
same
before
camp.
or after?
This was after because the first time I was ever there, I was 7,
Okay.
and this was like 2 years later.
Wow.
And so we go up, and my dad. It was my dad and my uncle. They both took groups. So we had 9 people with us. So it was me, my brother, and one of the neighbor dads, and his son went with us. And then it was my uncle, his best friend, his other neighbor, and his son. They went another way. And my dad was showing me, hey, this is this kind of plant, this is this kind of tree. If you find yourself lost in the woods, best thing to do is to stay where you are. You can, look for signs of this, this, and this, and this. And he goes, and he was just doing the whole thing. And then we heard another yell. So we go back down to camp and we eat dinner and stuff, and we go to bed. And then early in the morning, I hear like something walking around our camp. And I look at my dad. My dad's wide awake. And I go, he's like this. And so this goes on for 35, 40 minutes. You hear something walking around, and then it just stops. Go back to sleep, wake up, and I see footprints. And I go, Dad, look at this footprint. He goes, oh, yeah, that's a bear. Now looking back, okay, now again, I had not seen the Patterson Gimlin film at this time. I was probably 10 or 11 when I saw that film. I believe what my dad said. That was a bear track. Not a problem. That day, again, shooting some guns, fishing, swimming, just having a good time, with my dad and my little brother and my uncle. And you hear people talking about memories and experiences they have, and this is like one that you would read in a book. That's just how it feels to me. It was just all the guys out there doing guy things and having fun, just being guys, And I mean, that's where I learned how to start a fire. That's where my dad first let me use an axe to cut a tree. I mean, it's just here's all the things, and you're a kid, your mom's around, or they think you're too young to mess with anything, but now you're out here, and your dad's letting you do everything you're not supposed to be doing, right? And so,
That bad, guys. You continue, David. I gotta take.
They're busy. So, they go and we get to do all this stuff, and that night, we ate dinner, we put all the food up in food bags up in a tree, and anything that was in like a cooler was locked down. We put the locks on there so they just couldn't rip anything off. A bear came in, a bear would probably rip it apart, but it'd have a harder time. And we go to bed. And again, like right around, it seemed like early in the morning, 1, 2 in the morning, I definitely hear like something moving, like walking around. And it's like a man. It sounds like a big man walking around, but it's just not one, it's multiple. Right.
Wow.
And I wake up and I sit up real quick in my sleeping bag, and my dad's sitting up. My uncle and his friend are sitting back to back in the middle of the tent. The 2 neighbor dads, they're up, and they're all armed. My dad's got his rifle. My uncle and his friend has their rifle. The 2 dads have pistols. I look over at my little brother, sound asleep. I look over the other 2 kids, sound asleep. I am wide awake. And I look at my dad, and he looks at me, and he just does this again. Be quiet. And just as I was going to ask him something, I hear something not run by, but move pretty quick by, dragging its nails across the canvas tent right
man.
behind me. It went around the back side of the tent, and then on the other side of the tent, it dragged its nails all the way around the tent. And then, we heard our campground just getting trashed. And I did not go to sleep. I stayed up, saw the sun come up, was terrified to leave the tent. And my uncle gets up and he slowly walks to the front flap, takes his rifle, kind of moves the flap aside like this. He kind of peeks out. Then he walks outside, and I hear him go, "Dean, you got to see this." Man, I beat my dad outside. I jumped up out of my sleeping bag, and I hauled butt right to the front flap and came flying out of the flap. Our entire camp was jacked up. Food bags were on the ground. Anything that was not in a can was gone. Chairs destroyed, thrown over here. Coolers, lids ripped off, tossed over there. It was just absolutely trash. And my dad and my uncle, they looked at each other. About that time, the other two dads come out. My uncle's neighbor buddy comes out, and they're looking around. They're like, "What the hell happened?" And they're like, "We got to go." So we just hastily started packing everything up. They get the tent down in probably 5 minutes. And now they're not even neatly putting things on these deer sleds. They're throwing everything they can on whatever deer sled they grabbed a hold of. We left everything that was, that if it was trashed, it stayed there. And now you've got 3 kids that are still sleepy because now they're being rushed to get up. They're not knowing what's going on. As we're packing up and we start heading out, we hear this scream. It's not a yell anymore. It's a scream. And it sounds like it's coming from my left side, like 20 yards away.
Wow.
And it just comes flying through the trees. Like if you've seen like those videos where like the volcano erupts and you see this shockwave coming towards you, that's what it felt like coming through those trees. And we're not at a dead run, but we're moving. We're moving way faster. And it's the 2 neighbor dads, then his 2 sons, then my uncle's buddy, then me and my little brother, and then my dad and my uncle. And the 2 youngest, which is one of the neighbor's kids and my little brother, they were having a hard time keeping up. So they got tossed onto one of the sleds. And now they're getting pulled through the woods up this trail. We start running. We come up to where we see the embankment that goes up to this logging road that we had camped on. And I hear my uncle go, "I've got one on the left." I hear my dad go, "I've got one on the right," or "I've got movement on the left. I got movement on the right." Like they're flanking us. We get up this hill. Everybody just starts jumping in the back of trucks. We had 3 trucks. They're throwing stuff in the truck. I jump in the back of the very first truck that I see. My dad runs by me. I'm kind of freaking out because I see my dad. My dad's my hero, He jumps in the back of that truck. My little brother, he gets in the back seat of the truck that I was in. My uncle throws the thing, the sled he was pulling into the bed of the truck. It almost hit me because I'm laying flat. When that comes in, I kind of peek up, and my uncle's just getting in. Someone hits the roof of a truck, and that's everybody go. So we start tearing out of there, and all of a sudden, my uncle just starts unloading his rifle. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, "I got one over here." My dad's like, "I got one over here." And now my dad and my uncle are just unloading these 30-30s that they have. They are just bang, bang, bang. And I'm looking up to see what they're shooting at. And about that time, this branch or this limb comes sailing through the air. And if we were going any faster or slower, that branch, and it was probably like this big around, it would have impaled one of the vehicles, but it went right between the middle vehicle and the vehicle I was in. It went right between us, and they tore out of there. And as far as I know, no one ever went back to that guy. I know I never did. I know my dad never did. But yeah, so that was,
I'd probably stop carrying a 30-30.
You'd start carrying a 30-30?
I'd stop carrying a 30-30.
Oh, my dad and my uncle, they hand loaded their own.
Did they?
So they probably had hot loads.
Uh-huh.
I mean, both are Vietnam vets. So
we all grew up hunting with slug guns around here. Now we're able to use other stuff. But
do you think, Daniel, they were after your food and then they just escorted you guys out of there? Or I mean, I know they thrashed your camp too, so they were being kind of ornery, but you think it was a food thing or just harassing you guys?
I think they were harassing us. I think that we were shooting the guns. That we were shooting the guns and like literally every day that we had a chance to shoot guns, which was like 3 days in a row, we shot guns. We shot hundreds and hundreds of rounds, and we weren't shooting at anything in particular. We were just shooting to shoot.
Yeah.
It's not like we were setting targets up. Oh, look, there's a branch up there on that cliff side. Let's shoot that branch down. Oh, look, there's a rock. Maybe we could shoot that rock down, just being stupid.
That's what you did when you were that age.
I was just happy to be shooting guns at 9 years old. I thought it was awesome. But, just to see my dad and my uncle go from being, hey guys, are you having a good time? Let's do this later, to being all business. It just made me think, Vietnam was not that, hadn't ended, but a couple of years before this, 3 or 4 years before this. And it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts me because I saw my dad and my uncle go back to a place that I don't really think that they ever left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to think the pain that my dad and my stepdad as well, and my uncle and any other Vietnam vet that, did any substantial time over there, did they ever really leave? You know what I'm saying? And it just it bothers me that they left as boys and they came back broken men, and, so I just watched my dad just turn something on that I never knew was there. I saw a part of my dad that I didn't know my dad was in Vietnam until I was probably, probably 11 years old, 12, 13 years old.
I had 2 uncles that were Air Force over there during the.
Yeah, it's rough. That's one war, and then it's I don't know. It's just, Gary, you're right. Vietnam vets never really left. They didn't.
Yeah.
My one uncle is actually one of the only guys I ever knew that was in Vietnam that lived past his. Most of them died of cancer or whatever when they
Yep.
Agent
Orange.
60s, 70s. He's in his he's almost 80.
Yeah.
But he's had all sorts of, health issues and
Daniel, I could say my father's passed on too, and he was my hero growing up. Same childhood, fishing and hunting and just enjoying the woods. We went wood cutting and stuff all the time with him. There was 3 boys and my dad, and there was a time that came, not going to say it was for sure a Bigfoot, but we know it was probably.
Yeah.
And the same look on his eyes, in his eyes, us kids were like, did you see how dad was looking? And it kind of gives me goosebumps because looking back, it was like you said, it was very well said. He was business at that point. It wasn't anything but that focus, and you could see that intensity in his face, and not necessarily concerned, but just was going to take care of business. And my dad wasn't a veteran, but he had that same protection mode in his face. It was really strange.
Yeah. You know, and it's really, you know, yeah, I miss my dad so much. I really do. You know, I have out of a calendar year, I have 2 months of peace. 2 months out of 12 months, I have peace, where there's nothing significant that reminds me of my dad. Not a birthday, not a favorite holiday, same thing with my little brother, you know, because I lost my mom, my dad, and my little brother all in the span of like 3 years. You know,
Daniel, I forgot to tell you this earlier, but you said was it your dad that passed on June 20th?
Yeah.
My son's birthday is the 21st.
Man. You know, it's August and September are the 2 months that I have peace. From October, you know, until July, I'm in a melancholy state. 50% of the time I'm sad. 50% of the time I get by. It's very rarely that I'm happy to the extent of true happiness. I mean, I'm happy in life. I'm happy. I love my wife. I'm happy that she's in my life. I'm so happy that I have my grandsons and they make me laugh, and my wife makes me laugh, and my kids make me laugh. But I'm always melancholy. You know, I don't know what true happiness is anymore.
Well,
you know,
I got something that could probably help you. My grandfather was one of the ones that, I mean, he grew up on this farm. This farm's been here. We got a dairy farm. We've been here for we
ages.
Just made 100 years. The family's been here that long. A couple of years ago, we're a century farm.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was 93 when he passed last spring. Well, last February. Actually, believe it or not, it was the day after the insurrection, or might have been the same day, but that same weekend, and he was the one that told me, you know, he's found tracks here before, and my first big encounter, the night he that night when my buddy and I flew out of there, and we'll talk more about this in depth later, but that was the night my eyes were open to this. And if it hadn't been for him, I would have never came out about it.
Yeah. No, it's harsh, you know, but I look back and, you know, I'll tell you about my sighting now, and I'm very, very protective of it because it's something that I shared with my dad. October of 1984, we moved to this one area. My dad was now newly single. My dad and my mom both were married 4 times. And so when my dad was single, that's when I was the happiest. And call me greedy, call me selfish if you want, but that's when I had my dad to myself. Because it was me, my little brother, and my dad. That's how it was. That's the way it needed to be. I didn't particularly care for my stepmoms at certain times. I know they didn't care for me because, you know, I was one of those kids that were like, you ain't my mom, you know? But, you know, so we moved back to live with my dad because.
Now, where did you guys first live?
Now,
your family's from West Virginia.
Well, I primarily grew up in Washington State.
Okay, but your family's from West Virginia, right?
Well, my dad My dad's
Yeah.
family's from Oregon and Alaska.
Okay.
My mom's family's from West Virginia.
Okay.
Because of my mom and dad being divorced when I was very young, like 5 or 6, my dad became the hub. So my dad made roots in Washington. Yeah, there you go. Flat Rock knows. See, that's my T-town boy right there. Me and Flat Rock are both from Tacoma. You know,
Flat Rockland. Yeah.
yeah,
He's a cool dude.
yeah. Him and I are both from Tacoma. I grew up on the north side of Tacoma, up by the University of Puget Sound. You know, kind of a bougie area, I guess you can say. But so we go and my dad buys 5 acres of land. We were living in a fifth wheel in an adult RV park. He goes and moves the fifth wheel to this 5 acre plot of land. He'd cleared out probably 3/4 of an acre, had laid out an outline with flags and stuff of a house that he wanted to build. So we pull into this area after we passed this RV park that we were living in, and my dad showed us this amazing property. We walked the property, all these woods. He showed us the boundary lines, what was our property. And to me, it felt like we had 1,000 acres of land. It was only 5 acres of land. It was off this gravel road that at the time I thought was like 5 miles long. It was really maybe 1.5 miles, almost 2 miles. It was everything that a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old kid needed, you know, and a single dad who worked long hours, who trusted us enough to be home by ourselves. You can imagine the stuff that we got into. Okay. We had mini bikes. We had an off-road go-kart. We had 22s.
I understand because I grew up on a farm, so you know.
So you know it.
When I was little, my family had like a whole fleet of Honda Big Red 3-wheelers. So.
Nice. Those were awesome.
Those, oh man,
Yeah.
I can tell you stories.
Death machines.
Absolutely.
You couldn't look at it without it wanting to flip over on top.
Absolutely. I had one roll on top of me. I thought it tore my leg up. But it didn't.
Daniel, one time I was riding across one of the stream crossing going to my neighbors, and I had my 30-30 on the handlebars.
Yes.
And I hit like this one little, spot, and the thing tipped over, and somehow I managed to grab the Winchester as I was going down and, held it up while I was stuck underneath the four-wheeler and then had to figure out how to get myself.
Oh.
And I still went over to the neighbors and hung out with them, but
Yeah, those are so much fun. We would ride our go-karts or our mini bikes mostly, but our go-kart, it was my dad and me and my little brother. Well, my dad and I pretty much built it. It's a 2-seater. We had off-road tires on it. It had a Briggs and Stratton, like 5 horsepower engine on the back. So we would haul butt in this thing, right? And, we would be doing that all day long. But, I remember one night, I want to say it was springtime. It was right before, right at the beginning of spring, we had this huge storm. And if you guys don't know what a fifth wheel is, they have like a little loft area that's above the hitch. And that's where we slept. My brother and I slept. If you're looking at it, I slept on the right side. My brother slept on the left side. My stuff was next to my side of the camper was nearest the woods, and my brother's was nearest this huge deck that my dad had built onto this camper. And my dad had put some cement blocks down to kind of give it more of a foundation, I guess you can say. Anchor strapped it down just in case of anything. I don't know, tornadoes, but I've never heard of a tornado hitting that area. And we had this real bad storm. Think of a horrible storm. Thunder, lightning, wind, sheets of rain. And I'm awake the whole time.
Yeah.
And every time the wind would blow, you could feel the camper shake. And all of a sudden, it just felt like our camper went like this. Up and then slammed back down.
I'll be back.
Okay. and I pulled this curtain back, and just as I did it, this flash of lightning hit, and I saw this thing walk underneath this limb of this tree and off into the woods. And I flip out. I'm like, Dad, it was a damn Bigfoot. I'm yelling, and my dad gets up and he's like, what? Shut up. Don't wake up your brother. Blah, blah, blah. This whole thing. I'm yelling that it's a Bigfoot. And he's telling me I didn't see anything. I told him what I saw. And next morning, we get out, we go outside, and we're looking around. And he's like, what did you see? What did you see? I said, Dad, it walked underneath this limb right here. Its head almost touched that limb. He's like, Daniel, stop telling stories. He goes, I go, Dad, it did. So my dad pulled out his key ring, had like 9,000 keys on it, and he opened up the lock on the shed and knew exactly what key to go to. Oh, here it is. And it worked first try. And like legit, he had one of those things that pulled out like this. And he had I kid you not, he had a thing of keys like this. and he pulls out a tape measure and he starts taping it up. And he goes, tell me when to stop. I go, Dad, stop right there. That's where the top of his head was. He's like, Daniel, there is no way. There's no way. He goes, son, this is like 8 feet, 8.5 feet. I go, that's where its head was. He's like, no. Now it had rained and it wasn't just like sprinkling, like it was coming down. And walked over and you could see where something had moved into the trees, but you couldn't really get a viable print or anything. And he goes, you didn't see a Bigfoot. I go, yes, I did. And as I turned to look at him, that's when I noticed the camper. And there was a huge dent in the camper. Huge dent in the camper. And I go, well, then what made that? And I go, Dad, look at those blocks. And some of the blocks were crushed. And then 2 of the anchor straps that he had were completely pulled out of the ground. Completely pulled out of the ground. And and my brother comes around, he goes, what did what? And I go, look at the camper. And my dad said, he had told me not to say anything to my brother. And my dad goes, oh, a tree limb fell off of the tree here and it hit the camper. And my brother goes, oh, that's what that noise was last night. Right. Mm-hmm. So we go on about our business. We go from that time, we start clearing more part of the land. And my dad's like cutting trees down and all this type of stuff. And this is around spring break. We were coming back from Tacoma because we stayed at my aunt and uncle's house in Tacoma. And as we turned off the paved road onto the gravel road kind of went down kind of a grade like this. And then it leveled off, then had a couple little more rises, until we got to our place. And this is probably 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And as we're coming off the paved road, I see eye shine up ahead. And it's way up ahead on this road. And I said, Dad, there's something up there in the road. I just saw eye shine. Now, the eye shine that I saw was like a amberish, reddish eye shine. That's what I saw. And I go, Dad, it's up there in the road. He's like, oh, well, it'll see us coming or it'll hear us coming. It'll get off. It'll leave the road. It'll just go away. I'm like, okay, no problem. So as we're driving, we go down this dip. We come back up this rise and I see the eye shine again. I go, Dad, it's still up there. It's not going to leave. I said, turn your brights on. My dad had installed like new driving lights. Instead of having them kind of like facing forward and angled down a little bit, he had them angled out as far as he could so he could see the whole both sides of the road, because there were deer and porcupine and coyotes and other animals around this area, right? And he didn't want a deer, especially come running out and blasting the car, So I said, Dad, turn your lights on. He goes, listen, it'll move. It's going to hear us coming. It's going to see us coming. It's going to move. So we go back down this little dip, drive straight, come back up this little rise. Just as we come up, boom, my dad turns those lights on and it lights up everything. And when I say everything, it lit up what was standing or squatting on the side of the road. And she started standing up. She was like not all the way squatting down, but she was kind of like squatted in a way. It's hard to. She was squatting, but she wasn't squatting. You know, kind of hunched down like this. And she's just stood up, and I thought she's going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And when she did, she went like this, and she turned at the waist to look at us. And I saw she dark charcoalish, grayish hair, about 4 to 6 inches hair coming from her arm. Her hand was like this, so I saw the palm of her hand. It was black. Her face, I saw her eyes. Her eyes were black. Where the eye shine comes from, I don't know. She had a thin upper lip. The best way I can describe it, she kind of looked like Patty, but not. Her head wasn't quite the same shape as Patty. She wasn't as bulky as Patty. And as soon as she started turning back around, I immediately dropped to the floorboard of the car. My dad did not speed up. He did not slow down. He just kept a steady speed. And as we were driving by, I figured we'd already passed her. So I kind of peeked my head up from the floorboard. I'm looking out the front passenger side window, and I still see her. I see her standing in the tree line. And I watched her blink her eyes. My dad goes and pulls into the driveway. I didn't give my dad a chance to stop the car. Didn't even get him a chance. I had opened up the car door, had my keys in my hand, and I jumped out of the moving car, ran around the front of the car as it was driving, as it was slowing down. I ran in front of the car, jumped up the 4 steps. I didn't even touch a step. I went from ground to deck, unlocked the door, ran in the house, jumped on my dad's bed. Well, ran in the camper, jumped on my dad's bed.
Yeah.
A couple seconds later, hear my dad coming up on the deck. Heard the car door slam. Hear my dad coming up on the deck. He's holding my little brother. He goes, puts him up into his bed. He doesn't say a word to me. I'm sitting on his bed. He's looking at me. He goes into the kitchen, starts grabbing all this food, takes it outside, puts it on a table on the deck. I hear him leave the deck. I hear him slam my car door, the side of the door I was on, because I didn't shut it. He gets the ladder out of the shed, comes up. And now my dad had put a whole pole up on the corner of this deck because my dad loved watching birds. I don't know why. He just loved watching the birds. So he had put this pole up here with a platform that he was going to put a bird feeder up there so he could take pictures of these birds. Now my dad could tell you could hear a bird. Oh, that's a such and such. Oh, that's a robin. Oh, that's a blue jay. That's a starling. He could tell you what it was. And so he goes and takes his food, climbs up the ladder, puts it all up on this platform, comes back, takes the ladder down, sets it back over by the shed, comes in the house, goes underneath the sink, pulls out a rag, and takes this tube of grease. I know it's grease now because later on when I asked him, it was grease. At the time, I didn't know if it was grease or not. Hold on a second, you guys. I got a tarantula crawling up my wall right now. I hate spiders, you guys. I hate spiders with a passion.
Daniel, I had one the other night. Well, the other afternoon, I ran in here real quick to do something, and I was turning off one of the lights, and I moved the couch, and something out of arachnophobia crawled over the back of the couch.
Nope.
And I was in a tarantula to broom contact with them. I missed it a couple times. It got into my favorite recliner.
Burn your house down.
Like 10 minutes shaking that thing until it fell out of there, and then I proceeded to step on him when he came out of the.
Burn your house down.
I was so close to getting the 22 and loading it with birdshot and seeing if I could.
Yep.
Just maybe pepper my couch lightly and clean that mess up.
Yep. Burn your house down. But anyway.
I really like that chair, though. That's the only reason I didn't light the chair on fire.
Well, I'm half tempted to just leaving right now because I hope I got that damn spider. But anyway, I watched my dad go and take this this grease. He puts it on his rag and he goes and greases this entire pole. And I'm looking at him while he's doing. I go, "What are you doing?" Like something like why did you put that on there? He goes, "So no animals get that food up there." And I go, "You mean like raccoons?" He's like, "Yep, exactly, raccoons." Now, I don't understand why it did what it did, but just that little conversation I had with my dad completely made me forget about what we just saw 30, 45 minutes ago. Okay?
Yeah.
Completely made me forget what had just happened. So I'm in the bed. I'm still in his bed, and he goes outside just to have a cigarette, and I hear him talking, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something to the point of, we saw you, we know you saw us. These are my boys. We're a family. We want to make a home here. We don't mean any disrespect. Please don't scare my boys. All this is up here. This is yours. Please don't scare them. Don't hurt them. We just want to live here in peace. And he comes in and I go, "Dad, who are you talking to?" And he's like, "I was praying." And I go, "Well, I don't ever remember. I don't hear you say amen." And he goes, "Amen." Okay. Now, my entire life, up until the point of the last time I saw my dad before he passed away, I had never heard my dad pray in his life. Never. Now, what I was listening to, I know was not a prayer. But for him to play off that he was praying, okay. I think he was doing things that would to put my mind at ease. So he asked me if I wanted to sleep with him. I go, "Yeah, please, can I?" He's like, "Sure." So he gets ready for bed. I'm all ready for bed. And I'm sleeping. And if anybody, you two guys or anybody in the chat, have you heard something heavy, like substantial weight, either step onto like wood or be placed on like a wood? You know how that wood groans and pops and cracks and creaks. My eyes shoot open because I hear this. I hear something stepping on the deck. And that deck just starts groaning. And I shoot over. I look at my dad. I could barely see my dad. He had this big alarm clock that was like this big, that had big red letters, big bright red letters. So it let off this light. And I go to say something. He's like this. And about that time, I've still got my back kind of laying up against the wall of this camper. About that time, I hear and feel something run by real quick. Like you could feel it running. And then I hear something climbing over the railing and then come down on the deck. And then I hear something else stepping onto the deck. And I look at my dad and I'm sure I'm freaking out. But what really kind of just flipped it over for me is that I heard something like, and again, this is a really bad imitation, but it's something like, I hear this coming outside of our camper on the deck. And it sounded like they were arguing or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure I was crying. I'm sure I was doing everything. I remember my dad reaching over and trying to pull me into him to hold on to me. And I must have cried myself to sleep because the next thing that I remember is light shining through the door, the window on the door. Now, it wasn't a regular window that you could see through. It was like one of those bathroom windows that light can come through, but you can't see out and they can't see. Nothing can see itself in. I go and I jump out of bed. I open up the door and I jump up onto the railing. And I look up, and I'm like a trapeze artist. I'm doing a balancing act on this railing. If my dad would have saw me on there, he'd have tanned my hide. But there was no food up there. There was no food. It was all gone. So I jump off. My dad comes out. And he's like, were you on that railing? I go, yeah, Dad, the damn Bigfoot. And he's like, listen, don't say nothing to your brother. I don't want him to know, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. And I go over and I look, and I could see where something had reached up, and you could see where something had grabbed this pole in multiple locations. But what was really cool is that something had taken a finger and rubbed it all the way down this pole and then wiped the grease onto the railing like it was wiping it off of its finger.
Wow.
And I go, Dad, look what it did. Look what it did. And he's like, listen. I go, Dad, what did we see? He's like, you know what we saw.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, I told you it was a pig. He's like, don't tell your brother. Right. So after this next thing takes place that summer. Me and my brother were sitting at home. He's playing like Atari 2600. We got the door open up. We got music playing. And I hear my dad come home. I hear him slam his car door. And I could tell when he slammed his car door, he was pissed. He's pissed. And I'm like, oh, and I hear him go, what the hell happened? He comes running up on the deck and he's like, Daniel, do you want to tell me what happened to the burn barrel? I go, no. What happened? I didn't burn any trash today. That was my chore. I had to burn trash. I didn't burn any trash today. He goes like, really? He goes, well, where's the burn barrel? Daniel, you want to tell me where it's at? I go, Dad, what do you mean? I haven't burned any trash. I don't know. He's like, well, it's not there. I go, Dad, I barely weigh 100 pounds. You think I can move this burn barrel by myself? This burn barrel has like 2 bags of playground sand that you've dumped into it to keep it, weighted down at the bottom. He goes, well, why don't you come and tell me what happened? So I go out and I'm looking around. I go, Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, well, something happened to it. So I go and he starts looking around. I go looking around. For some reason, I just walked into the woods. And like 30 feet into the woods, there was a burn barrel laying on its side. And I go, Dad, I found the burn barrel. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, Dad, that damn Bigfoot threw it in the woods. And he's like, I said, don't say that. Listen, don't tell your brother anything. And about that time, my little brother comes walking around the front of the camper. He's like, tell me what? I go, Bobby, look at this damn Bigfoot threw the burn barrel in the woods.
Oh,
man, my dad went, bah! And he blasted me in the back of the head, and he told me not to say nothing. I told you not to say nothing. And just as you and I are all sitting here right now, my brother goes, oh, I don't think it was one of the small ones that I saw. I don't think they would have done that.
Wow.
And we both look at my brother and we're like, whoa, what do you mean? What do you mean? He's like, oh, yeah. He goes, I've seen 2 small ones before. He goes, I've seen them a few times. He goes, whenever we have like a barbecue or we put the speakers out on the deck and we play music, he goes, they love music, Dad. They come and they walk along. And he showed us they walk from here. And if you see them, you'll know where they're sitting. But if you don't see them, you'll never see them. And he goes, hey, I've thrown baseballs and tennis balls out there, and I've never found them. I threw them out there, figuring I'd be able to go find them. Never found them. He goes, they take them. He goes, and him and I, we'd scrounged wood up from around the area, and we built a treehouse, like 15 feet up in the air. We built a treehouse. And he goes, I remember one time I was walking out, and I saw one of them jump. There's that damn spider. I didn't get him the first time. Sorry, guys. It's a tarantula. It's like 93 inches long. It's huge, man.
You need a bigger weapon.
Yeah, I think I got him. But anyway, he said I watched it jump out out of the door of our treehouse, hit the ground at a dead sprint, and it was gone, just disappeared. Now, I know there had been times where me and my brother, we had walked into the woods, and the path that we built off of, it was a path that went like this way, then it kind of went around to the left, and it kind of bowed around to the right to like a little straightaway. And we would ride our mini bikes to that little area, but we built it right off to the side of the path. And we walked into the path. I was maybe 10 feet in the woods, and I turned around and looked at my brother, and he goes, "Yep, we need to go back to the house." Because you just felt, it just didn't feel right. There's one time where I go and I climb up, me and my brother are both in the treehouse, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and he does like this number. I go, "Yeah, we need to go." And I looked out the window, and about, I don't know, 20 to 30 meters or yards, whatever, I see this huge thing kind of peek and then pop back and then peek around again and pop back. And I'm thinking that was like the big, like the dad. And I go, "Let's go, man. Let's go." So we go, and we got out of there, and we took off, and that was pretty much it. October 25th, my dad got in a really bad, and in 1985, my dad got in a really, really bad car accident. He was almost killed. The state trooper who came up to the accident said if he would have had his seatbelt on, he would not be here today. He would have passed away in that accident because he got ejected out of the car, and it rolled like 3 times, and then it hit him in his shoulder and tore his clavicle bone. And but he calls me from work, and he's like, "Hey, I was in a bad accident. I'm okay. They're taking me to the hospital, but I just wanted to call and let you guys know, hey, I'm okay." And of course, I'm upset. And he says, "Hey, it's okay. I'm alive. I'm okay. The car's totaled. But your aunt's coming to pick you up. She'll be there in a little bit. Just have you guys' stuff packed up." And so that's what we did. And we waited. I hear my aunt pull up, honk the horn. Me and my brother grabbed everything that we could, and we put it in the car. And so that fall and that winter, we were living in Tacoma with my aunt. And then that following spring, my dad, unfortunately, because he couldn't work for like 6 months, my dad lost the property. And he sold the fifth wheel, and we had to go back and get everything that we wanted out of there. And I had already taken everything I wanted when I left the first time. I didn't have a lot of stuff, but I walked around the camper and I walked around the property, and I noticed on all of the windows, it looked like something was trying to look in. Even the windows up on the loft, you have to be super tall to look in those. And I think that, I honestly think that it was that family of Sasquatch that were wondering, hey, where'd these people go? One day they're here, the next day they're gone. And I've since Google mapped it and Google Earth that area, and there's a lot more houses there. The forest is almost gone. It's not like it was. I would love to go back there, but I don't think anybody would want me to come trekking through their backyard or property and say, "Hey, yeah, when I was 12 years old, I saw a Bigfoot here." But I have learned, I've been in contact with a couple of people that are from that same area that have seen a Sasquatch, like in the last 10 years. And it kind of makes me wonder, when I heard that, I got super excited because I wonder, could it be one of those juveniles? Could it be part of that family unit that was there? Who knows?
Daniel, one of our friends in chat, Todd, he actually does a lot of Bigfoot fingerprints and stuff on windows.
Mm-hmm.
And he's seen a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, you think, you guys, I mean, think about it, I had like a year there. It was only a short amount of time, maybe a little over a year, but the interactions, and again, the only aggression I ever felt was from that one that hit the camper. And I think it was like the older brother, like the late teens, early 20s, age. My brother probably had incredible encounters with the juveniles. I saw the female. And there'd be times my brother and we would be hauling butt on that go-kart. And he'd go, there she is. And I kind of whip my head back real quick, and I just catch like a glimpse of something moving back into the trees or moving back into the bushes that were alongside of this road. So maybe it was her just checking up on us, make sure we were okay, or, and then maybe the big male, when we ever saw him or felt his presence in the woods when we were in our treehouse, maybe he was just checking on us, making sure we weren't doing anything stupid. Don't be jerks. I'm here. I'm let you know. But yeah, I mean, I've had a couple more encounters. I don't know how you guys are for time, but
Oh, we
Go ahead.
Listen.
We're all ears, buddy. We're not going to cut you off. If you're going to entertain, we're going to let you entertain.
I mean, does anybody else want to hear anything in the chat? Give me a 1 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we want to hear it.
Just
keep going.
Up your
So Daniel, there was a question way earlier, man.
I'm sorry.
David was asking have you had anybody on your show that said anything that's changed your perspective on reality or that challenged what your beliefs?
No. I'm very strong in my convictions, not on my channel. I mean, again, they're flesh and blood, but do I believe that there is something else to them?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe there is. I honestly believe there is. I'm not going to take, people saying, oh, they wave their hands and a portal appears. Yeah, I'm not going to believe it, but I'm not going to believe it. Do you know what I'm saying? Until I physically see it happen, I'm always going to be skeptical about it.
Right.
Do I believe Dogman? Absolutely. I believe Dogman's out there. Have I ever seen one? No, absolutely not. But I know, like, between 15 and 30 miles around where I'm at, about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a Dogman sighting that I saw on one of the pages, and I wish I remember which one it was. I wish I would have saved the video, but they had a video, and they're watching, I want to say it was a cow pasture, and there was like some young calves out there, and there was this thing just sitting in the wood line, clear as day. And it looked like no wolf that I've ever seen. It looked like no coyote I've ever seen. It had pointed ears on the top. It wasn't black. It was like a beige color. And it kind of moved itself up, and it got big, and it kind of like looked around, and it was watching. It snapped its head over and like looked at one of the calves or something. And then I don't know if it sensed somebody around, but it ducked back down into the brush, and it was gone. And I was like, whoa, I've never seen anything like that. And if I'm ever in that area, I'm going to try to hit it with my truck if I see it. But no, but so do I think, you guys, they're flesh and blood to me, but I do think there's something else to them. I mean, there is, you guys, they are the masters of their domain. You cannot tell me anything different. And here's the thing. People goes, well, with all the technology, and I get this from my family all the time. Well, with all the technology, okay, what about the technology?
Don't mean nothing.
It doesn't mean anything. Think about the lowland gorillas or the mountain gorillas. How long had people been hiking through all these areas with cameras, up-to-date technology, and they still could not catch a picture of it until one day there was that chance sighting? Think about that fish in I know it starts with the C. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, that thing. That's supposed to be extinct for millions of years. And what do they catch off the coast of Japan?
On the island of Madagascar.
Thank you. So I mean, you guys, anything is possible out there. I'm never going to throw a possibility or probability of something, because you guys think about it. This is a subject. This is a community. This is a topic that the realm of probability is so great you just never know from one day to another what's going to pop up. You just never know. You guys could get an email from somebody and go, this is it. And you guys can scrutinize that email. You can scrutinize that picture, that video. You can have it analyzed by whoever you want to. And it would come back being, this is 100% authentic. There's no way that this film was edited or this picture was doctored in any way. This is 100% genuine. Those pictures and those videos are out there. You know that.
Oh, they are. I've seen some good ones.
Yep. But for every one amazing picture out there, you've got 10 billion blob squatches, 10 billion blob dogmen. You have 100 billion pareidolia pictures that are out there. You know, like, hey, look at this. This is what I saw. Okay, a tree, a bush, a stump. You know, no, it's right there. It's right there.
Yeah, we've all seen stuff like that, but then we've got stuff that everybody stops and they're like, "Whoa!"
Yep, absolutely. I have my next. I have 3 episodes coming out. 2 of the 3 have little people experiences. Which
we have that here every Tuesday. He's right below you.
Oh, that's rough. But
I'm
you know,
only
he's used to it.
5'6".
Gary goes, with so many people hoaxing, what do you expect? Exactly.
Right.
And here's the thing: people that hoax are ruining this community. They're ruining it for real.
I agree.
You know, and you know, there's people that you want to believe, but you just can't, because they're good, genuine people, but you just can't, because either they're grabbing a hold of a picture that they see someplace else and they crop it and they say that it's theirs, that they found this on their property, and you know what? It's just, and then you take that picture and you do like a search for it on Google and it pops up on like 11 different things. And you're like, why are you lying? Or they don't crop it good enough and you just, oh, this was on a post, or this was on a tree in my property. But then you look and it was on like a fence post, and you could see the fence post. That's not a tree, that's a fence post. But you know, it is what it is. But you know,
I've seen stuff that I took, you know, that I didn't even notice anything in it, and somebody's like, "Hey, did you see that?" And I look back, I'm like, "Whoa, I did not see that."
Well, Harley one day sent me a picture, and he's like, "Man, you got to see this." In my eyes,
Dogman head.
No. This is Sasquatch, and I noticed it right off the bat. I'm like, "Holy smokes, man!" I go. He's like, yeah. And then he sent me the same picture, but he circled it. And I go, bro, what are you trying to that's not what I'm looking at. And I circle and what I was looking at was a hell of a lot clearer than what he was looking at. And I go, bro, that right there. And he goes, how in the hell did I miss that? Like, it was like legit. It was a nose, it was a mouth, a chin, eyes, eyebrow ridge, whatever. And I'm like, bro, right there by that tree. And he's like, holy crap. You know, I mean, I'm telling you, you know, it's crazy. But then I've seen some other stuff out there that people sent me, and I'm not disputing that there's something there, but if I can't see it, I can't promote it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I had a guy that sent me all sorts of pictures. I couldn't see anything in any of them.
Yep. I had one of my guests, they sent me a ton of stuff, and I was honest with them. I said, you know what, the ones that I could definitely see something in, I loaded it, so I'll show it on your episode. But you guys sent me a bunch of stuff. I just can't make it out. I tried enhancing it. I couldn't see anything. So if anybody out there in the chat has had an encounter, want to come on my show, and you send me some pictures, you guys, I'm going to look at them and I'm going to scrutinize them. And I'm not going to, tell you that you're not seeing what you're seeing. But if I can't see it, I mean, I blow images up and I go through piece by piece and I try to, because I want to see something. I love seeing stuff that people send me. But, I had a couple people when I told some of my encounters, oh, yeah, you got great opportunities. You didn't take one picture. Okay, let's see. I'm 53. Back when I had these encounters, there was no such thing as cell phones. If there were cell phones, they were like a brick that you carried with a battery pack that had no camera on it.
They didn't have them back in the 70s.
Exactly. And the one thing is, is did I have cameras when I was a kid or when I was young? Absolutely. But you know what? The last encounter that I had was with my little brother, Shelby County, Tennessee. I had come home on emergency leave. Our grandfather passed away, and my little brother didn't know that I was coming home. He thought I was just going to go for the funeral and have to go back, that I was going to miss his graduation. But I was able to make his graduation. And one thing him and I loved to do, we loved to camp. And it didn't matter if there was an area we could put a tent, we'd camp. Backyard, off the side of the road in the weeds. It didn't matter. I mean, my brother and I, once we got our driver's license, man, we were gone. Like, we drove all over the South. It didn't matter. And he comes to me and he goes like, hey, man, you know what I'd like to do? And I go, what do you want to do, Bubba? What do you want to do, man? He's like, let's go camping. I'm like, hell yeah. He goes, I know a spot. Let's get in the stinking Lincoln. He had a 76 Lincoln Continental, baby blue with a white vinyl top, and he called it the stinking Lincoln. So we jump in the stinking Lincoln, and we're only going to do like an overnight. We were going to do multiple days. We're just going to go put up a tent, start a fire, eat whatever we brought with us, just kind of hang out, just have us time, And yeah, we pull into this area, and he goes, oh, we're going to go down the road. There's a trailhead. So we're walking down the trailhead, and he's like, let's cut through here. We'll get to the camp area, and we're not going to stay like in a designated camping spot. We knew an area right by the river, Mississippi River. He said there was a sand bank there that we could walk maybe knee deep through the river and then onto the sandbar and just kind of hang out, whatever. So we're walking maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes down the main trail. Then we break off the main trail. We probably get about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes into walking off, and he's got to take a leak. So he walks over to the tree and he starts to do his business. I hear this whistle come over from my left-hand side. And I instead of looking that way, I looked at my brother, and I'm getting ready to ask him, man, did you hear that? And he goes, what are you looking at, man? What? Trying to look at my stuff? What are you? I knew it. As soon as you joined the Air Force, I knew that's what you're going to be like. You're going to be one of those guys. And I'm lighting the loafers. That's what he's trying to say. And I'm like, man, he goes, yeah, I knew it. And I go, man, no, shut up. He goes, yeah, you whistled at me. I go, bro, I was asking you, did you hear that whistle? He's like, yeah, I heard you. You whistled at me. I go, man, why did I whistle? She's like, whatever. Come on, man. So we start walking, and we'll get like maybe another 15, 20 minutes down this trail or this little area. And I got to go to the bathroom. So I walk over and start to do what I need to do and hear the whistle again. And then he just out of nowhere, he grabs me and just boom, and he pulls me back. Now, my brother is a big boy. He's like 6'1", 6'2", like 320, 330. He's a big, big man. He was a man before he was a man, if you know what I mean. He was like a man child. And he was so damn strong. And he grabbed me and he literally pulled me up. I mean, I weighed like 180 pounds this time. And he just whooped right up off my feet, man, and pulled me back. And about that time, this stick or branch came sailing through the air and it hit the tree I was standing next to. And I'm like, what the heck? He goes, man, I just saw something over there. I go, what? He's like, yeah, we got to go. I go, what do you mean? He goes, man, I just saw something standing over there. So I'm like, all right, let's go. So we start going and we're moving and we hear this thing moving alongside of us, right? And we keep going and it's hot. We're sweaty. I'm in way better shape than he is. And as we're going through these woods, and it wasn't, again, we were not on a defined path. So we had to jump over fallen stuff. And, there was a lot of underbrush and stuff that we had to make our way through. And he's getting gassed. And I'm like, come on, man, come on. So I'm encouraging him. He's ahead of me and stuff. And we get up and I'm guessing, we're probably 20 minutes in on this off trail, head back towards the main trail. And all of a sudden he just like stops and he bends over, he puts his hands on his thighs and he's like dry heaving. And you could see like saliva coming out of his mouth. Like he's trying to throw up. He's dry heaving and stuff. He's like, man, my chest is killing me. I don't feel good. I'm dizzy. My head hurts. And so I'm like, here, man, come on, drink some water. So I'm getting him to drink some water. And he gets his wits about him a little bit. And I'm watching him. And as we're moving ahead, we probably get about 10 minutes from where he just got hit by something. I say it was infrasound. I get this wave just hit me. Boom. And I'm instant down on one knee. And I'm trying to throw everything up that I ate probably for the last year. I mean, my stomach is just wretched. My head is hurting. It feels like I got people hit me in the head with a hammer. My chest is tight. And he's like, dude, I go, man, you gave me what you just had. You just gave it to me. And he gives me some water and stuff. And I'm kind of getting my wits about me. I'm having a hard time standing up. I get up. He's like, come on, let's go. So we finally get going through and we see the trail. I know we're not far from this main trail now. So we get to the trail and we start moving up and we still hear this thing moving through the trees, moving through the woods, and it is not making itself quiet. It wants us to know it's there. And my brother is just gassed. I'm not going to cry at this time, you guys. I'm not going to cry. We get up to where we see the bank go up onto the main road. And we get up there on the main road. And I'm facing down the road to where I can see the road bend. And I know right around that bend is where we parked the car. And the other part of the road is behind me, and it just goes straight back. And I'm looking, my brother's here. I'm looking at my brother and where our car is parked, and he's looking behind me. And he goes, I just saw it run behind you. I just saw it cross the road. And I go, what? And he goes, it's big. And then this is where okay, damn it. This is where he showed me who he was. He goes, tell mom I love her. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, I can't go anymore, man. I'm so tired. Tell mom I love her. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, just give me your knife. I'm not going to let it get you. Just tell mom that I love her. And I slapped him as hard as I could. And I go, shut up. I says, you're not going down like this. Go. I'm faster than you. I'll catch you. And I grabbed his knife. Now I had a K-bar that I carried with me in the military. And he had like a buck knife. And so I've got both knives and I'm cussing up a storm. Come on, you mother effer. You want to go? Let's go. I'll give you everything I got. Let's go. And I hear this thing just tear the woods up. And it's not running. It's like standing there. And it's making noises. And it's tearing up brush. And I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's go. And about that time, I hear my little brother go, Daniel, let's go. Let's go. And I turn real quick. And he's just going around the bend. and I just at a dead run, I turn real quick to my left, and I am sprinting with everything that I got. I was a cross country runner. I could also run. I did a 440 relay. I did the 1600 meter. I used to run cross country, and I'm quick off the gate, and I take off, and I'm in a dead sprint, and I'm running, and I hear this thing just ripping through the woods right alongside me. And at any moment, I'm thinking this thing's gonna just bolt out and nail me, hit me, and take me off to the other side of the road into the woods, and I'm done for. I come around that bend, and I try to Dukes of Hazzard across the hood of the stinking Lincoln, and I don't make the landing. I hit, it knocks the wind out of me, and I pop up real quick. I grab the keys. I unlocked the door. I throw my stuff in. I unlock his door. He slides in. He's like, go, 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 go. Put it in reverse, and I take off. When we come out of the park or the parking lot, got to go around this curvy road, and then you got to go turn right to go down this main road, and then turn left on a T-stop to take you towards the entrance and the exit of this park. Because if you turn right, you're going deeper into the park. And my brother's like, go, go. He's like, please go faster. Please go faster. It's right there. It's right there. I can see it. I can see it. And I'm looking, and I don't see nothing. He's like, it's right there, man. Please go. And as soon as I could step on the gas, I stepped on the gas. And that stinking Lincoln, for everything it had, man, it took off. And we got up out of there. And I've never been back. I've never been back to that area since. That was in 92. I've never, ever been back.
So what part of Washington was that?
That was in Tennessee. That was Shelby County, Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee, okay.
Yeah, that's an armpit of the
Sorry, I missed that part when I had to step out.
Oh, no, you're good, man. But, that's the encounter that changed everything for me. Because I won't go off the beaten path anymore. I won't. If there's a defined path, I'll walk it. If there's not, nope. And if it gets too dark, I'm turning around. I don't have any time. And plus, I'm always strapped when I go out. So I'm a hell of a...
places you go to anymore that are like that?
No, not as wild anymore. And it sucks. I mean, I think the wildest place that I've been, I guess you can say, was my wife and I. We went up for our anniversary up to Ely, Minnesota, and I was carrying my little snub nose 357 with me, and I just had it in my little holster I have, and she's like, "Why are you bringing that?" I go, "Oh, you never know. You might run into a bear or something." And I had already investigated here. There's sightings up there, and it was a beautiful day. We're going to hike to this waterfall, and there's a lot of people out and about, stuff like that. And I just came around this area, and something just did not feel right to me. And I looked at my wife, and I go, "Do you really want to go all the way?" She's like, "Nah, it's getting kind of hot." I'm like, "Okay, good answer," in my mind. And we just turned around, and I just felt really weird about the area. Like up until that point, I felt perfectly fine. Like I was excited to see the waterfalls that we were going to go see. And legit, it just all of a sudden the whole the area just felt off. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And there's a lot of people up there already. We'd have probably seen 15, 20 people. And I just did not want to be there anymore. And we just turned around and went back.
Yeah, there's a place in West Virginia that I will never set foot on that mountain again.
Really?
And that was what I was telling you, where I'm pretty sure that was my one and only Dogman experience. I never saw it.
Yeah.
But it was enough while I was turkey hunting, coming up on the top of this plateau, and there's, all these little rock outcroppings and stuff. And I was like, that looks like a really good ambush point.
Yep.
And I couldn't make my feet move any further towards that rock.
There's
the creepiest things. I mean, to the point where I took the safety off of my Beretta A300 I was turkey hunting with.
Yeah.
And I reached down and unstrapped my 38 and I had it loaded with some heavy loads.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started backing down that hill. We camped there for 4 days, and the only other thing that happened was my buddy that was with me, who was with me the night that we ran out of the woods, the night I figured out that Bigfoot isn't just in the Pacific Northwest.
No.
He was with me, and he come back to camp going, "You guys weren't down there throwing rocks?" And
Mm-hmm.
I knew something was up because, he comes back, pistol in one hand, fishing pole in the other, and he never pulls it for no reason.
Right.
And just the fact that he was walking with it in the other hand,
Yeah.
that was what got my attention. And the whole place just felt gloomy. And it's in the Monongahela.
Yeah. There's, I don't know. Everybody has it, man. Everybody has that early warning system in them. It's just you just have to listen to it, because if you don't listen to it, if you don't make a habit of listening to it, you're not gonna know what happens. It's just like when I was at Fort Dix, New Jersey, when I was going through air race ground defense, like ground combat training and stuff. So, where we did a lot of the training was in the Pine Barrens, and oh yeah, is exactly. I didn't know anything about the damn Pine Barrens. The instructors were telling us, oh yeah, there's wild people out here, and they love catching, soldiers or airmen out by themselves. They'll snatch them up, and I'm like, shut up, I don't believe it. But I was humping the M60. Humping means carrying, so people out there have nothing to know nothing about the military.
I know what you're talking about.
So I humped that pig, that 23-pound, lovable, beautiful madman of a beast. 23 pounds of just beat your ass. I love it. And so we were on the.
That's a lot of artillery.
It'll cut down a tree. I'll tell you that. We were watching a mock air base. And I was, of course, online in a bunker with my 60. And one of the instructors were coming by, came by and goes, "Hey, have you guys heard of Starlight Scope?"
Uh-huh.
I hadn't heard of it. He goes, "Yeah, this is what it is. I've got one. We're going to let's
That's the old days right
there."
Yeah.
Well, I was in from 1990 to 1995.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still wearing woodland camo, BDUs. I was in when you had to iron your uniform and had to shine your boots. Okay. Nowadays, military, you don't have to do any of that stuff. Right. So I'm sitting online and, the instructor comes by with the Starlight Scope. He gives us a base, a rundown, how it works, what you guys can do with it, all this type of stuff. So we had it up on like a tripod. I had my 60 up. And it started getting dark, and so let's try this Starlight Scope. So I get behind the scope and I'm looking, and it was amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And radio comes on, be advised, you got a patrol moving in front of your position, blah 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 blah. Now we're supposed to have Op 4 come out and trying to mess with us to see how they can get into the base, how alert we would be. And so I'm sitting there looking through the Starlight Scope and stuff, and all of a sudden I see our squad moving out in front of us. Now they're probably a good, 100 meters out in front of us, right? And there were some sparse bushes and stuff that you could see, And if no one knows this, if you starch your uniforms, you glow white hot. You look like a person, your outline looks like a person, but if you don't starch your uniforms, you're like a blob. Okay. So I'm sitting here and I'm watching Okay, there's one guy, there's two guys, there's three guys, all the way like there's 10 dudes. And I can see them bebopping around. They're all starched uniforms. They go past this clump of bushes and a little bit of trees, and I see something stand up and move in behind them.
Oh.
And I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's big. It is 6, 7 feet tall. It's huge. And all of a sudden I get on the radio. I'm like, and I don't remember what the call signs were, but Delta 2, this is Raider 4. Go ahead for Delta 2. Yeah, can I get a head count of your squad? And he goes, 10. I go, negative, negative, negative. I count 11. So you see him go like this. You see him, so they all go down. And you see him turn, and they're counting. I'm 1, you're 2. I'm 2, you're 3. And they're counting. Well, like the last two dudes, they get up and they haul ass. They just take off running. And when they take off running, apparently someone shot a flare up into the air. And that was a key to open up. Now, when that flare went up, I lost all vision.
Yeah.
That night
You're
vision
going to on a starlight when that thing goes off.
That thing it stopped. So I kind of moved my eyes back like this, and I see this thing cover 200, 250, 300 yards like that in seconds. It just went straight ahead, ran right off into another tree line. It was easy 200, 300 yards up in front of me.
Now, did it run right past those guys, or did it?
These guys were over here.
Okay.
When the two guys took off running, they must have scared somebody over here on this line, whoever then popped the flare. And this thing, illuminated by the flare, took off running. Did I get a good view of it? No. All I saw was the back, and it was so fast, I couldn't tell you what it was. But I tell you, it wasn't a person. And so I'm like, be advised. We got one taking off, blah, blah, blah. About 10 minutes later, instructor comes up, Hamilton. I go, yes, sir. He's like, get out right now. They want to see you back at, our little headquarters building. I'm like, okay. Me, the two guys that must have ran off, and our instructor were standing there, and this captain comes walking in. We stand up. He sits down. He's like, you, and you, all three of you, shut your mouth. You didn't see nothing. If you say anything about what happened tonight, I'm going to court-martial you, Article 15, and kick you out of the Air Force. Am I perfectly clear?
And this was the Pine Barrens.
This was in the Pine Barrens. I was 19 years old, just starting my career in the Air Force. This is all I know what to do. I was terrified because an Article 15 was a death sentence. That's what I knew. That's what I was told. You get Article 15, you're done. You're done. You'll get a dishonorable discharge. I get a dishonorable discharge. I won't be able to find a job. I won't be able to vote. I won't be able to do this. And I was terrified. And so I didn't say a word. I never signed an NDA or whatever it's called. I did not sign any letter not to talk about anything. I was given a direct order. But, decades later, I talked about it. And there was another time where in the Pine Barrens, we were doing squad maneuvers. So we were learning how to set up ambushes and things like that. And we were rucking to a predetermined area where we were going to be ambushed. And we had to make sure that we responded correctly to the ambush. Right. And so I'm point man. This time I'm not carrying the 60. I'm point man, and I'm moving up, and I stop real quick because I hear movement coming out from the left side. And I know we weren't close to where this ambush point was. I'm leading my team to an ambush. That's what I was supposed to do. There were blanks. And so I stop because I hear something, and my instructor comes up. He's like, why are you stopped? And I go, I just heard something over here to the left-hand side. So he stops and he listens. He's like, I don't hear nothing, Hamilton. Go on. Get back. Take off. So I start moving forward and I get about 10 steps and this massive thing just probably 20 meters in front of me sprints across this path that I'm walking on. And it just moves. Boom. And it was dark outside, but this thing was darker than what the dark was. Like, gone. And I stopped real quick again and I turned around and the instructor, he comes up, he's pissed. What the fuck are you stopping for, Hamilton? I go, I just saw something big run across this path. He goes, you didn't see nothing. I go, I'm telling you, I saw something run right across this path. He goes, I go, I'm not moving anymore. I'm not moving forward at all. I'm not moving forward. He's like, Hamilton, you better move or I'm going to stomp a mud hole in your ass. I'm going to walk that mother effer dry. So I'm like, oh, crap, man. So here I am with an M16 with blanks. And I'm like, the only weapon I have on me is my knife. That's all I have that's going to do any damage. And so I move up and I take another 10, 15 steps. Ambush kicks off. We're nowhere close to this ambush. It is yards up ahead of us, and it kicks off. Boom, 60. It's unloading. People shooting M16s. It's going crazy. We're not even close to it. Instructor comes up and goes, what's going on? What's going on? I go, what do you think? What I saw kicked off that ambush. I'm guessing that thing ran across the path, circled around, and must have scared somebody, and they just opened up on it. But again, what was it? I don't know. It was big. It was a hell of a lot bigger than I am. And I was, at the time, I'm 5'9", 180 pounds. This thing looked like a giant. Again, is it a Bigfoot? I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no because I couldn't see it. But whatever it was, man, it was huge. It moved super fast. This path, you could drive a deuce and a half down it. It crossed this path one step over, done. Out of the woods, one step on the other side, done. And like that, there and there, gone.
That's insane.
That's in the Pine Barrens, you guys. Seriously. So that's all of my cryptid encounters right there. It's that's it. One confirmed sighting. Other encounters, yeah. And I've had a UFO sighting. I've had
all this talk.
paranormal.
That's it. That's all you got.
That's all I got. You know, I've had a UFO encounter. I've had
I've had a few of those.
Oh, Jeff, you've had everything.
I've had everything except a visual.
Of
I
what?
had something of a Bigfoot that could have been a visual, but for years I thought it was a ghost.
Yeah.
But after going back and looking at the height and everything, I just thought it was one of the farm ghosts because we have some of those.
Yeah.
But then I come back later, I'm like, I don't think any of our farm ghosts were 8 feet tall.
Well, with my UFO sighting, I was like 17 years old. It was the summer before my junior year. And my dad, again, newly divorced, bought a place down on a lake. And I was going to, no, it wasn't the summer before. Summer before is when we moved down to the lake. It was probably, I don't know, October time frame. So it wasn't super cold, but it wasn't warm. And it was me and this girl that I met in my health class. And we kind of kicked it off and started seeing each other. And we decided to go down to the boat dock. And we just want to do some stargazing. And we went down there and we were just laying there looking at the stars. And all of a sudden I just felt like this electricity. And I'm not saying it's electricity between us. Like I literally felt like electricity in the air. Like I felt the hair on my arm starting to stand up. And I heard this humming noise. Now, who out here are Star Wars fans? You guys Star Wars fans?
Some, yeah.
So
yeah.
you've seen the
Older
movies.
stuff.
You've seen the movies where like the Star Destroyers are slowly moving. You hear that that sound right there. That's what I heard. Very low hum, very, and it was constant. There was no high tones. There was no low tones. It was just a constant tone. And I heard this, and I'm like, and I look at this girl, and I go, "Do you hear that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do." And so we sat up, and I looked to the back and left of me, and there's all this trees, probably a good 10 acres of trees. And I look and I see this light, and it looks like a searchlight, but it's not shining up in the air. It's slowly looks like it's scanning through the woods. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And the humming gets louder. So we get freaked out. We're both 17 years old. I jump up, she jumps up, I grab her hand, and we take off running. And we go running right up the hill to my backyard, in through the sliding glass door, shut that, run upstairs into my bedroom. Now, my bedroom, I slept in a loft that had like shutter doors for the windows. You can open those up, and I could look right down into the living room and dining room. But if I look straight out, there were some windows up this way that I could look right down to the lake, right down to the boat dock, into the boathouse, right? And as we're standing up there watching, I still see this light. And now it's scanning like over through our backyard. And then it goes and it scans right over where we were at on the boat dock. And she's like, "Are you seeing this?" I'm like, I go, "What is that?" I go, "Is it a helicopter?" And she's like, "I don't know. I didn't hear anything." I said, "I didn't hear anything either but that humming." And when I said it was like electricity, like all the hair on my body felt like it was standing on end.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm looking, all of a sudden I see like the front end of this thing coming into view. And it's moving slow. And it just keeps going out over the lake. And it was huge. It was about a football field in length.
Yeah.
And it looked like it almost looked like a stealth bomber in a way, but it didn't have the certain angles on the wings. It almost looked like a really elongated like triangle. Saw some lights. Once it got out of the water, like that searchlight went off, and I can see almost the entire thing now. And it literally went out like this and then went gone. Quicker than I could blink my eye, and it just shot straight up in the air. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I go, "What was that?" And she's like, "I have no idea." She goes, "Do you know what that is?" I go, "That's not military. That's not anything I've ever seen." I used to live by McCord Air Force Base. I lived by Buckley Air Station in Aurora, Colorado, where I'd see the SR-71 fly in and out every once in a while. So I've seen some crazy planes. I've never seen anything like that. And to this day, I'll tell you that was a UFO. That was.
What else could it be?
Think
about it, really. We don't have anything that we know of, right? That's capable of that.
Daniel, I watched one night, probably 15 years ago. This star was sitting still. And I might have this backwards, either dropped or rose elevation in 1,000 feet. I can't remember which one. But all I know is that thing went from here and then took off and stopped. And it looked like it did about a good, it had to been at least 1,000 foot elevation when it moved.
No, I mean,
and it didn't move. Yeah.
See, that's so crazy. I mean, I've seen things
from
like that.
One spot to the other and stopped.
Yeah. Just the way that these things move, the G forces that they pull, it's going to kill. It would kill a human being.
Yeah.
It legitimately would. I saw someone in the comments saying that something about smoking the Northern Lights. Where you guys, you may not want to believe this or not. I have never in my entire life.
Sean. Sean's somebody you need to have on. He's had 3 dogman encounters.
Well,
and he lives right here in Maryland.
Okay, mind if I plug my show?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
If you guys want to come on the show, come on the Cryptid Podcast. Shoot me an email at the Cryptid Podcast 72@gmail.com.
What days are your podcasts? Are you like any given day or a set day?
I do mine pre-recorded, and I usually do a Wednesday release. Once a month, I do a Saturday release, which members of the channel get early access to it. And then occasionally I may do a Friday release.
Now you do a live stream with Josh from Mysteries Unknown, right?
Yeah, when Josh has time to do one, we do that on a Thursday night.
Yeah,
and then I do a Saturday night one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So yeah,
we've got a few other ones that I've seen, but stuff that just doesn't look right at night. Things moving around that don't have any marker lights or stop in certain places and sit there for 10 minutes and then they go on.
Now, I've seen things like that, but I know it's not UFOs. It's I've heard piston engines, fighter planes fly over the base I was at when I was in Germany. I was stationed on a German Air Force base because we had resources at that base. So the base that I was at was a German Air Force base. That area was heavily bombed during World War II by the Allies. 2 times in the 3 years that I was there, they found 1,000-pound bomb about 50 to 60 meters off of the end of the runway. And I watched them blow that into place. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I watched them blow it. Hit, I think the dirt went about 300 or 400 feet up in the air. That was fantastic. But I've encountered ghosts at that base and then ghosts at F.E. Warren Air Force Base as well.
I've seen some pretty crazy stuff between here and the home farm. They're both on the same road, within, couple 100 yards of each other. And that's where I'm pretty sure I saw it could have been a Bigfoot standing out by the heifer lockups where we breed a lot of our young stock.
Mm-hmm.
But it was probably this much taller than the headlocks, and the headlocks are 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And, probably a good 8 foot. But I mean, I've ran into ghosts there. I've ran into ghosts down here.
I got, when I was at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, it used to be an old Army fort back in like the turn of the century, like 1800, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah.
And they have a cemetery on that base. And there's no way I saw a full body apparition standing in the cemetery. I was pulling relief officer. When I was in the security police, nowadays it's security forces, but when I was in, it was security specialist and it was security law enforcement specialist.
Ooh.
And I was security specialist.
Look what Sean just put.
Go back in.
Ran out of a house he was remodeling by an entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. I was pulling relief officer this night. I know it was either the day before the full moon, or the day after the full moon. I can't remember exactly what date it was, but it was November of 1994. And it was cold. There was probably an inch and a half of snow on the ground. I pull up. I see someone standing in the cemetery. Now, the moon was so bright, I didn't need to use a flashlight or nothing. I could see clear as day. So I pull up, I get out of my cruiser, and I'm walking up, and I see this lady standing by this headstone. And I look at my watch, it's like 1:30, 1:45, something like that. And I go, "Ma'am, you can't be in here." And she didn't look at me. And I go, ma'am, my name's Senior in Hamilton, 90 Secure Police Squadron. You cannot be in here. You need to leave. And she looked at me like she did one of these numbers. She went, and I'm like, oh. That's when I noticed what she was wearing. It was period clothing, like late 1800s, early 1900s clothing. And I go, nope. And I go, ma'am, you can't be in here. You need to go. And I took a step to her, and it felt like something like splashed in my face.
Oh.
And I'm like, and next thing you know, I hear Police 5, control radio check. Police 5, control radio check. And I reach up and grab my mic and I go, Police 5, all secure. Copy that, Police 5, all secure, control out. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? And that's when I realized that I'm on my back. I'm flat on my back. And so I do this checklist. And I'm like, okay, I can move my feet. I can move my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I can move my back. I'm feeling no pain. So I get up and I don't know what's going on. I'm looking around and she's not there. She's nowhere to be seen. So I'm looking around, and that's when I notice the footprints.
Oh.
They're my footprints. My footprints are the only ones in the snow. All this other snow is completely undisturbed, except for where I walked up and where I can look down now and say, look like I was trying to do snow angels. I walked back to my cruiser, and that's when I noticed it was 45 minutes later.
Oh.
Wow.
Like, I don't know how long I was out, but a radio check brought me out of whatever I was doing or whatever I was in. And I had this bone-chilling coldness in my body that I could not get rid of for like 3 or 4 days. I didn't say a word to anybody about this happening. I had a top secret clearance. BF Bud. No, in 1993, 1994, bro, we didn't have body cams. That would have been awesome. No, we didn't have dash cams either. I never said I had a top secret clearance. I belonged we had a program. If you worked around nuclear weapons, you had to be on this program called the Personal Reliability Program, PRP. If you got pulled off a PRP, you could not work. You could not do the job that I was doing. You might have well become a garbage man, a cook, supply guy, something like that. I was a cop. That's all I wanted to do. So I didn't say a word to anybody. I worked my shift the way I finished working it, but I had that heat on full blast.
Now, what state were you in when this happened?
This was in Wyoming.
This is why. Oh,
so
you were all over the place.
Oh, well, being a kid of divorced parents and your parents treated you like luggage, your step parents hated you, and then I joined the military, but, so I worked that whole shift. I turned in, had a couple of people asking me, well, hey, dude, you okay? You doing all right? You seem off. I go, no, I'm good, man. I'm just tired. I went home to my dorm room and I turned my shower on as hot as I could get it. And I could not get warm. Nope. I was only 2 bases. I was at F.E. Warren Air Force Base from 93 to 95. And I was at Norvenich Air Base, Germany, from 91 to 93. So, but the water couldn't get hot enough. I was standing in scalding water and I could not get warm. And this lasted for like 3 or 4 days. Like when I say bone chilling, like this coldness was in my body, in my bones. I could not get warm at all. My girlfriend at the time came over and I just told her, I said, I'm freezing. And she touched my hands. She said it was like she was touching like a block of ice. Like my hands and my body was just that cold. And I could not get warm enough. I mean, I've had doing laundry one day down in the basement of the dorm that I lived in. And I heard a rack of balls on the pool ball, on the playing pool, heard a rack of balls get busted. I'm like, okay, cool. Someone's down here shooting pool. I'll shoot with them while I'm doing my laundry. Step out of the laundry room, take 2 steps to my right, go in the day room. Day room was completely dark. I flipped the light on. There's no pool balls. There's no cue sticks, nothing. There was nothing on the pool table. The pool balls were on the rack on the wall where the pool cues and everything were. I heard that 3 times. What finally broke my chill, just over time, my body started warming up, but it was legit like 3 or 4 days. I mean, I was wearing like long underwear, sweatpants, then my uniform. I wore my cold weather gear, all that type of stuff. Sit in front of heaters. It just is anything I could do to warm up. I even like ran a mile, just ran around the track in the gymnasium. I'd run around there and I wasn't sweating. So yeah, I've seen shit. I've seen stuff come in and out. I've seen stuff coming in and out of rooms. And when I was in Germany, I had 2 German security force members flash us down with a flashlight. We're a mobile patrol. We go driving by. I'm driving. Next thing you know, I see a flashlight lighting our van up. Like, what's going on? We turned around. My partner, he's speaks fluent German. And these guys they're going crazy. Like, what's going on? And he's like, man, they're saying they saw or they heard a phantom. It beckoned them to come into the woods. And I'm like, what? And and next thing you know, they're opening up the sliding door and they're jumping in our combi. And they're like, go, go, go. And I'm like, okay, we'll go. And I whip back around to where they said they saw it and they're freaking out. They don't want us to go. But dude, I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm a badass American. I got an M16. My buddy's, he's got an M16 with an M203 grenade launcher. We're going to rock and roll. We pull right up to the edge of this woods. And we get out. And I get about 10 steps from the grass. And there's like another 10 steps and then you're in the woods. And I get right on the edge of that grass. And I just stop and I look at my buddy and he looks at me. He's like, man, we need to get back to the combi. And I go, man, you ain't lying. Because I knew if we would have walked in that woods, we would have seen something or encountered something we did not want to mess with. You just got that feeling, man. And so as we start bounding Overwatch backwards, the 2 Germans, they're laying on the ground with their G3 rifles pointing at the woods. They're covering our retreat back to our vehicle because they're terrified. And again, it's the same instance. We don't say anything because we have top secret clearance. We have PRP. And if they think we're crazy, we're no longer cops and we're out of the Air Force. So I got a ton of other stuff, but I don't want to keep you guys for too long.
Sounds like you've been pretty busy through life.
Oh man, I've had more paranormal encounters than I've had cryptid encounters.
Yeah, paranormal. Yeah.
And paranormal started when I was like 4 or 5.
Well, at least your co-host didn't send you a haunted puzzle.
What?
Yeah.
I
gave him a puzzle. Yeah, I gave him a puzzle from here. A couple things for his kid.
I kept cleaning stuff up, and every time I turn around, a piece of that puzzle be on the damn floor. in the dining room, and I'm like,
How do you think I got rid of it?
and I picked it up, and I'm like, there's got to be, and then I go put it away, and another piece of me laying on the floor, and I'm like, nope. I took that whole puzzle, and it's either in a dumpster, landfill. I may have burned it. I can't remember. Something happened to it. I didn't have to deal with that anymore.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you think it's sitting under your house somewhere, man, or up in like a crawl space or something.
When we started doing the podcast last year, I was standing on the front porch one night at like 11:30 with a friend of ours, Barry Browning, and we were talking about Bigfoot stuff, and I'm looking out into my front yard and out by the pasture, and this cloud of energy just comes floating out of the, peripheral vision right in front of me across my driveway and disappears into the darkest corner of the yard out into my cow pasture.
No.
And he's talking to me, and I don't even remember what he was talking about for the next like 5 minutes. And finally I had to stop him. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that was, but I literally just saw some sort of, and it looked like a black cloud almost.
Yeah.
But you could kind of see through it.
Yeah.
And it just floated across my driveway at 11:30 at night.
No.
And,
David, you asked, you are right. It's when I was over in Germany, I used to run 15 miles in the morning and 15 miles at night, or after whatever my if I worked swing in mid shifts, if I'd get off of a mid shift, then I would go and I'd run after work. But the base that I lived on, I worked on a base called Norvenich Air Base, and then I lived on another base called the Bulke Kaserne, and they were a few kilometers away from each other. But on the Bulke Kaserne, I would run, and I'd usually run like 15 miles a night, and so it was just like a big loop that I'd run around. And it's one loop is exactly a mile, so I'd run like 15 times around. But there'd be a part where you have to go through like this woods, and one night I'd probably run this route probably 150, 200 times by this time. And one night I was running, and I thought I heard some whispering, like coming from the woods, like a conversation, like multiple people, but I didn't understand what was being said. So I didn't think anything about it. I thought it was somebody just maybe messing with me. So I go running back around again. And again, I hear the same thing again. And now I'm hearing a little more clear. And it's definitely German. No idea what it was saying. I couldn't really hear it, but I knew it was German. And then as I kept going and kept running around, then I started hearing it, and I remembered what it said. So I asked a buddy of mine who was dating a German girl who spoke fluent German. I said, man, I was running last night, and as I went through the woods, I heard this, and I told him what it said, and he's like, what? And I go, yeah, I heard this. And he's like, dude, someone in there was saying they wanted to kill you. And I go, what? I go, man, shut up, man. You're so full of crap. I didn't believe him. And again, to this day, I don't know if I believe him or not, but it seemed like every time I'd run, I only heard it that one time that I heard that. Now there was another part of the base that I would go from like the club, and then it's a shortcut. I'd cut through the middle of the base and then to my dormitory. And I would hear these voices all the time walking through this all the time. And for the longest time, I thought it was a guy named, his last name was Cook. I thought he was in these woods screwing with me because he was a bully. He was bigger and stronger than me. And he liked to F around with people. And I always thought it was him. And then I remember we were sitting in this little area of the dormitory we called the Pleasure Palace or the Party Palace. and he comes flying up the stairs, and he looks white as a ghost, and he's freaking out. He goes, "Man, I was walking in the woods, and I heard these voices, and all of a sudden I heard some movement, and I just took off running." It terrified him. But this base that I lived on in Germany, it, like I said, sometimes they would drop bombs on this area when they were going to go to Durin and drop bombs. Come to find out, the dormitory that I lived in, they use that as a temporary mortuary, a morgue. And so that's why the dorm that we lived in, we called it the morgue, because it was a morgue at one time. And so we believe that we're hearing the voices of some of these soldiers, these German soldiers that were kept in this dormitory and had possibly died on this base. We're hearing their voices in these woods and everything like that. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. Someone asked for my email address. It's the Cryptid Podcast 72@gmail.com. So it's just like the name of the podcast all together with 72 and then @gmail.com.
Yeah, I told her I'd send that to you. She didn't see it.
So yeah,
I got a good one for you, Daniel.
I'm all ears, brother.
You want to hear a real crazy? Well, yeah, I know, Jerry. You're looking. Well, this is a good one. So I got a guy that delivers hay for us that works for a place out in Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Getty Acres.
Okay.
They bale hay off the battlefields.
Shut up.
I am not kidding. Yeah, they bale the battlefields at Gettysburg.
What?
Yeah, they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to disturb the ground or anything. All they do is they go in, they cut it, and they rake it and they bale it. Once in a while, they'll no-till seed it, but they bale hay off of the battlefield. Yeah, I basically have spirit hay in the barn right now.
No. Mm-mm.
And I asked the one driver, I said, "You ever see anything there?" He's like, "No, I hear stuff." But the other driver, he was in last year, the year before, and he was telling me that one night, and Jerry and David, probably everybody in here has heard this one, he was going back to get his truck. He had a Ford Excursion, and it was parked over there on one of the roads by one of the fields where they were working, and he went and got in it to drive back to the farm. I think it was at night. He gets in the truck and he fires it up, and as he's pulling out of there, he looks over, and there's a Confederate cavalry officer sitting in the passenger seat.
Jesus Christ.
And this guy was not one of those kind of guys to make up stuff. I mean, big, burly biker dude. And he's like, "I'm telling you, there was a Confederate cavalry officer, and I gave him a ride back to the farm."
Bro, I'm going to tell you, man, I've seen those videos of Gettysburg where you see the ghosts like moving around, like the cannon, man, that fast. See, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. I mean, on my podcast, I don't cover paranormal. I made a promise to a couple of people that once I stopped doing my paranormal narrative podcast, that I would not cover anymore. I mean, I don't mind talking about my experiences, and I don't mind talking with somebody off camera about their paranormal encounters. I just promised that I wouldn't put it out there, But I mean, I've been to Shiloh multiple times. Been to the reenactment of Shiloh multiple times. Camped there as a Boy Scout a couple times, and I'm telling you, Shiloh, Gettysburg, Antietam, those are some freaking scary places at night.
Valley Forge?
I have not.
I've been there too.
I'm telling you, it is insane.
There's more to Gettysburg than ghosts, though.
Yeah.
Do what?
I said there's more to Gettysburg than just ghosts.
What
Yeah.
else is
There's
Gettysburg?
been sightings there.
Yeah.
So,
Of Sasquatch.
oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There was one
No.
here recently.
Oh,
where,
yeah. Big round top,
where I-
little round top area. Yeah.
Where I was just camping at Michaud, which is like 15
Yeah,
minutes
yeah,
from there.
Yeah.
Very active.
Well, I didn't know it, but literally 20 minutes from my house, 20 from where I'm sitting right now, 20 minutes, multiple sightings of Sasquatch, multiple documented sightings. Doug Highcheck, you all know who Doug Highcheck is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Well, like I said, Doug's a friend of mine. I consider him a friend. He lives 20 minutes from me. I've gone to dinner with him. I've been to his house. I've been to lunch with him.
Yeah.
He saw a Sasquatch on this road that I know. My son in 2021. I know, and I'll probably watch the replay of this and I'll check out the comments and I'll probably have someone like they did on mine talk about when I talked about my son's encounter, oh, why are you putting your son's business out there? Because my son told me I could. Now I'm gonna tell you, everybody's gonna sit there and they're gonna protect their kid. Oh, my kid would never lie. When I say my kid does not lie, he does not lie. When I say my kid is very quiet. He's very shy. He doesn't want to say anything. He doesn't want to put anything out there because he doesn't want anybody to tell him that he's stupid or he's a liar. He's very, very conscious about what people think or feel about it, right? So this is just this past spring break, we were in Michigan. They're now moving back here next month. We were in Michigan, and it was like 2 or 3 days before we were going to leave, come back here to Minnesota. And he comes up and he's like, Dan, can I talk to you for a second? And I go, yeah, sure, man. What's up? Now, when he comes to me, he just doesn't come up and say, can I talk to you about something? That's just not his MO. That's just not. So I go, yeah, what's going on, bud? And he's like, I need to talk to you in here. Okay. Now I know something's serious. I know it's serious. So he goes and he takes me in and sends me in and sits me in the kitchen. And he's like, I think I saw something. And I go, well, what do you mean? What do you think you saw? He's like, because I don't know, man. I go, and I could tell on his face he's scared. And I go, okay, where, when, who, what, when, where, why? Here's everything I need to know. Okay, who was with you? Jessica, that's his fiance. Like, okay. I go, where was it at? He goes, it was coming home from my dad's house. When? Shortly, like around my birthday. Okay, so August. I go, when? He goes, 2021. I go, okay. I go, now, what did you see? And he goes, well, me and Jessica were coming home, meeting to our house. And he goes, I was going up this road, Birch. I go, okay. And he goes, you know where there's a giant field on the right-hand side with that one house and then that big, giant old oak tree? I go, yep. And he goes, it was right across the street from that. And he goes, as I was driving, I saw something standing in the woods. Like right inside the woods. You could see it. It was standing there. And I go, okay. And he goes, as we were going up the hill, he goes, I saw it again and I put my brakes on. I was slowing down. I go, okay. And he goes, I looked in my rearview mirror and I could see, the road was illuminated because he had his brake lights on. He goes, I see this thing running right towards the back of my car. And he goes, I floored it. I floored it. And I go, okay. And he goes, I don't know what it was. He goes, it was bigger than any man I've ever seen. And it was so much faster. Something that big should not be able to move that fast. And I go, what did you do? He goes, I go to Jessica. I go, did you see that? And she turned her head. She said she saw something running through the field. He said he saw it run up, and when he took off, that's when he saw it bank off to the right and take off into the field. And that's like 15, 20 minutes from my house. And that's where there have been reported sightings. So I think it's cool. So Yep, I think I'm gonna have to take him and his fiance out and about one night, drive around in my truck, and just drive slowly up and down that road and a couple of the roads I know to see if we can see him. But yeah, that's cool.
Well, if you're ever up on the East Coast sometime, hit us up.
I've never been to Maryland. I've never been to Maine. I've never been to Connecticut, New
Maine's
Hampshire.
awesome.
I've never been up the New England states. I think the only areas I've been up there is Delaware. When I landed in Dover, we had like a 2-hour layover in Dover, so I walked around. I've been to JFK, New York, so I don't really consider that being in New York.
Well, you've been in the PA, haven't you?
Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
I went into Philly. I had a buddy of mine I was stationed with when we were going through training at Fort Dix, New Jersey.
I can be in Philly in 2 hours.
Yeah, he took us to Philly because he's from Philly, and he goes, "Listen, man, if you want a real Philly cheesesteak," he goes, "I know a spot," and he took us. And I'm telling you, man, it was amazing. Daniel, do you believe they? What does Leanne say? Daniel, Daniel, do they believe or do they think you're crazy? Okay, so my wife is the type of person that if her and I were driving down a road and Jesus himself was walking a Sasquatch out into the road and Jesus stopped the car and said, "Hi, Janelle, you know who I am. Yes, this is an actual Sasquatch." My wife would look at me and go, "Okay, how much did you pay those 2 people to do that?" I asked my wife, "What would it take for you to believe it?" She goes, "I think I would actually have to be in an area where I know no one else is and actually see one of these things." My daughter, I really don't know. I mean, I think they humor me. They really do humor me. So, but again, I know what I saw when I was 12. I know what I've heard, ever since. I know the feeling. I've actually, I've got to get in touch with Daryl Adams again because him and I are talking about going to Al Moon Labs and camping out for a couple of days. And
where's that at?
That's in Oregon, man. I wish you were on my StreamYard because I'd be playing you some audio that Daryl sent me from Al Moon Lab. It's some of the most incredible audio I've ever heard.
David's in Coos Bay.
Yeah. I've talked with David before.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's where my dad was born. My dad was born in Coos Bay. So, and I rode my 10-speed from Tacoma all the way down to Coos Bay when I was like 16 years old. Yeah. So, I was with my dad. I used to do so much cool stuff, man. Like I said, the only reason I think why that I'm not a paraplegic or a quadriplegic or dead or in prison, is I'm a Gen Xer, man. We're like bulletproof. We drank from hoses. We were latchkey kids,
Yep.
We did.
I feel like, me being 35, I feel like I was the last generation to drink out of a hose because I don't think anybody knew how that worked afterwards.
Man, I'm telling you. One of the craziest things I've ever done is I used to climb up these pine trees that were by my one house. And I would climb up as high as I could and I'd whip it back and forth. And then I'd throw myself over to the next tree. And I remember my brother went and told on me. And he caught me in mid push, and I was reaching out, and he yelled at me, and I lost concentration, and I hit that freaking tree, and I went boop, 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 like a pinball. I hit every branch all the way down. I had bruised ribs, bruised shoulder. I didn't break nothing, but man, I'm telling you, every single step that I took home, I had my dad's belt right on my butt. He cracked that belt on my butt every step of the way home. Have I ever done zip line? Yes, I've done zip line. I've bungee jumped.
Leave it there. Leave it there, Jeff.
There's a story.
Leave it there, Jeff.
I've done so much stuff, man. I'm telling you, I'm blessed to be alive. I'm blessed to not be in jail or in prison, I should say, because I used to just do stupid stuff. So,
yeah, we were tough back in the day.
Yep.
We'll tell Daniel later about the zip line.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. we're approaching the 3-hour mark. I got to get
Holy
up super
smokes.
early. So
Well, I'm
That's
sorry
all good.
for taking up too much time.
No,
Oh no,
we
you're
appreciate, we
fine.
appreciate,
This
we
is
appreciate
this
you
is
coming
like a
on.
normal occurrence.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm trying to slim the show down to no more than 2 hours, but that seems to go out the window.
Sometimes that
Sorry, Art. Eastern time here, buddy.
Yeah,
5
I'm in
a.m. comes
Central.
early.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Some amazing stories, Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure,
there's
yeah.
stuff we could do. Like we get people on here, we could do like 4-part episodes.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
got
you guys-
people definitely getting back on here. So
And I had a lot of fun with you guys. I really, like I said, when I first jumped on, I was like, old line cryptids. Who are these old farts? and I get I get on there and I look, and you guys just had a great vibe, and I really like the content.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I gotta get these guys on my show. Little did I
We're
know.
not hard to
Do
talk
that.
to is the thing.
Yeah,
Like,
I know you're
you
not. So
especially
guys-
if it's recorded, that's awesome.
you guys have an open invitation.
Okay.
Come on anytime you want. You guys know how to get a hold of me. If Jerry and Squirt, I don't know your real name,
That's David.
David. If you need to get a
David.
hold of me, this man right here
Blaylock,
knows
yeah.
how to get a hold of me. So
Yeah.
You're a
So-
little delayed, David.
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you.
That was like 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, Dave,
Yes, said
how do you say
that.
your last name?
Oh, wow.
What's the
Blaylock.
matter?
Blaylock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't
cool.
don't call him Blaylock. Oh
No. Blaylock. I got you. But yeah, definitely get a hold of me, guys. I'm pretty much open. I usually do my interviews starting like 7:30. That's when I do the interview. And they're pre-recorded. So, but you never know. I might ask one of you guys or all three of you guys to come on a Saturday night live show if you guys have time.
Yeah.
Just depends on the date.
Yep,
Yeah.
whenever you guys have time. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
Saturday night summertime is probably going to be a no for me because I'm usually out of town.
Because he's out working weekends, videotaping tractor pulls till midnight.
Oh man.
Or later. Well, no, not usually later, but it's the drive home.
Man, we had
Yeah.
so much in common, you guys, man. I used to work on a dairy farm when I was a kid during the summer. I used to go to truck pulls and sprint car dirt track races
Yeah.
all the time when I was a
Same here.
kid. Holy crap.
Yep.
David, what about you? What are some cool things you've done? I've probably done them as well, man.
Bears. It's all bears. His whole
Yeah,
biography is bears.
Bears,
Bear.
bears. I've seen bears before. I've seen bears.
We've got them here. Not
Oh,
like David has them, but
No.
we've got them.
No, we don't. I don't want them as much as David has them.
No,
But we
I
have
like
enough.
Yeah, we got him fit.
I like looking at bears. I don't want to be up close to a bear. I'm perfectly
really.
fine.
I've got a couple in my collection.
Well, they taste good. I'll tell you that. I've had
Yes,
bear
they
meat
do.
before. Bear is very good. If it crawls, swims, slithers, flies, runs, I've eaten it. Squirrel, possum, raccoon, skunk, rattlesnake,
I've got a raccoon living in
alligator.
my hay barn right now.
You got a what in your hay barn?
Raccoon. He's in between the metal wall and the wood.
Framing. Yep.
Nasty little buggers.
I was trying to flush him out earlier, but he's still in. I think there's a nest in there.
Yeah, David. The obsidian work you've been doing is unbelievably awesome, buddy. Awesome stuff.
Obsidian. You work with obsidian?
Oh yeah, he's got some. He makes arrowheads and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice,
Nice.
stuff.
He's working on a longbow for me.
Oh, you're a what are they? Boyers? See, I know. I used to play
Boyer.
D&D.
Yeah,
Boyer
he-
and Fletcher.
He likes to play with longbows.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. So, you guys, again, I just want to say thank you so much. I know you guys are wanting to get out of here, and I appreciate it. You guys, everyone in the chat, I've been kind of monitoring the chat as well. Thank you so much, you guys, for the kind words and stuff. I had a lot of fun with these guys. One last plug, if I may.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
On YouTube, the Cryptid Podcast, right there, the Cryptid Podcast. You can find me on there. If you check out my show and you like what you see, please consider leaving me a like, subscribe if you like. I'm also found on Spotify as well, the Cryptid Podcast. I'm working on Twitch. I'm also trying to work on Apple Podcasts and a few other places that
Cool.
drop it. But again, the Cryptid Podcast 72@gmail.com. I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for letting this old fart get on here and talk to you guys.
You're
And
still
check
young. You're
out
still a kid.
Mysteries Unknown,
Yeah.
too.
No, I'm not the kid. Jeff's the kid.
Trust me, we know.
Don't forget to check out Mysteries Unknown.
Yeah, check out my buddy
Yeah,
Josh's show, Mysteries Unknown, man. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be on here doing it. Show him some love. He definitely loves this community, and he loves all the people that come in and check things out. But like he always says, everybody out there, please stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, a legend always starts with the sighting, you guys.
That's right. Okay.
All right, I'm good.
We'll be on there soon.
All right, guys.
Looking
You
forward to
definitely will
that. Okay. Absolutely. David, thank you, sir. Jeffrey, thank
Yeah.
you. Sorry I had to step out
Thanks,
for a little
David.
while, but we're trying to get this shoulder back in shape here and yada yada, all that good stuff. So anyway, we'll be back next week, and if all goes well, we got a familiar person that everybody's going to remember. We're not going to tell you about who she is. But hopefully it works out. We're going to find out later in the
Hey,
weekend.
that's because you guys got the master of the getting people on right here.
It was my idea. I said, hey, why don't you try this person?
That's what happens.
Anyway.
Somebody says, hey, why don't you see if you can get this person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
Hey,
you
that's the
see
way it
who's
was. when I
busy and who's not busy during the week. See,
Hey, I pulled some strings. I was able to get Ron Moorhead on. So
wow, that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
that dude is so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I got my eyes
we're working
the
on
right show. Oh yeah,
We're working on some
we're
stuff.
working on a legend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a direct line to a legend, so
There's still a couple more I need to get on.
Time will tell. Time will tell. So
All right,
we've
guys.
had Daryl Ness on. Haven't gotten
Yeah,
around.
she's telling you.
all right, guys and gals, we appreciate you in chat. We love you all, and thank you for tuning in. And great show again, Daniel.
Thanks,
Wow.
buddy.
Lots of stuff. Yeah,
Hey, it's a
We're
pleasure
gonna have
being on your
next
show,
week,
guys.
man.
and we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Absolutely. Night, guys.
Bye.